Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Darcy Bits. We are here today with Urz's Artificial Intelligence to make another brand new set. Now I know I've been making a lot of these like custom AI generated sets lately, and it's weird because it's like if you're gonna go through the trouble to make a full set, you should play with it for a bit, you know? Do a few drafts, make some constructed decks. And that's all good, and I think that if you do, you should. But I'm really trying out lots of different ways of making a set. The first time we just did it and saw what happened. Well, that's not true. Sorry, let me try that again. The first time we used the Guilds of Ravnica to hopefully weigh the different color distribution. When I say the first time I just did it straight up, that's because I did that on my own and it was bad and I did not share that one. But the first time that streamed it, we used the Guilds of Ravnica to focus what was going on. We used the deck name, a different deck name per card to allow us to actually influence the AI into giving us more fixed colors. The next time we used an actual color word and a creature type to try and get a few different themes of the set. That was with the Small Folk of Lorwyn, which we had, you know, goblins and dwarves and fairies and such, right? Kithkin. And that one was really cool, but again, the color disparity is like so weird. So as much as I like the idea of a fully AI generated set with as minimal player input or user input or, you know, designer input as possible, today what we're going to be doing is straight up lifting the mana costs from an actual real set and seeing what the AI will do instead. We're not enforcing card type. We're simply enforcing color distribution and sort of like curve distribution, right? Obviously, a set is well made by actual designers who have thought about what the different costs of all these different cards should be. Now, there's a lot more going into it than just like choosing the right ones. We don't have like X number of 1-drops in each color equal amounts. Everything is a little bit varied because that's more useful for a set. And also, of course, you got to take into account like cards that have discounts as part of their designs and things like that. None of that's going to be, you know, acknowledged here. We're just going to have some weird designs. But all the actual numbers as far as the mana cost is going to come from actual Magic. So you can see here we've used Urz's AI, Urz's deck builder as one of the options in Urz's AI. When you get to this page, you will be asked to input a name and choose some colors and choose a deck type, and you hit Forge Deck. We immediately have hit Stop afterwards, and then we have scrolled down to say Update Deck from JSON string. If you don't do this, it will continue generating even though you said stop, and it will get confused because it will start updating this text with the card IDs of the cards it generates. So you got to make sure you're saying, no, stop what you're doing and update. The reason that we need to start doing that in the first place is A, you can't look at the deck JSON until you have done so. But B, because you can't, you know, it's hard to know what actual text to use unless you have a deck to build off of, right? It told us, like, this is the formatting for mana cost and deck name and all that stuff. Obviously, if you've like memorized that stuff, that's different, but I have not. So, with that, I've decided on the name Eldrazi Oceans. I like the idea of sort of like a fully underwater set for a long time now, but of course, it's going to be highly blue themed if I just let the AI go wild. But since we're doing mana cost fixing, which includes color, I thought this might be a good test run for that and see how, you know, are things going to be too blue in a fully ocean-themed set? I don't know. I'm really interested to find out. I want to see what it does. And of course, Eldrazi are always interesting, so let's get some Eldrazi in here. The template that I've used was from Streets of New Capenna, because it's just one of the sets that's always top of mind for me. I'm a relatively new player, and I super loved that set. So that is where I went. Obviously, that is a very specific set, right? Sets have different color distribution and different mana costs for their cards based on the themes of the set, meaning that this is a 3-color themed set. Just so happens because that's what Capenna was. So you're going to sort of see those color combinations throughout this set, but I think it should be great. Those are good color combinations. Anyway. Something I do want to mention before we get started, and I haven't generated any cards yet, I should say. I have written this JSON ahead of time, and I've hit the update from JSON string ahead of time. We're going to click on each card and flip it over, so you're going to find out just when I find out. I have included a little bit at the bottom here, just a couple of my own ideas, which are lands. I've been missing the land cycle in all of my sets, and so while I am not enforcing card type for most of these, I did add some lands at the bottom. Ooh, that reminds me, I was going to have islands and plains, and I was going to add basics. Forgot to do that. I'll probably do that later. Honestly, we're probably not going to get to the lands today, so it's kind of whatever. But you'll notice immediately that they have mana costs. I decided to do that. If I just throw the AI in there and say, make me a land, it's going to make me some weird colorless land because the AI thinks the card is colorless, which it is, but, you know, meh. So I'm giving them a cost of one of each pip of the colors that I'm hoping that it will generate. But, you know, when you get these cards, when the set's available, when you download it from the description of the video, ignore that cost. They're still mana value 0 cards. It's simply a way of making them look better and generate something more relevant. I'm excited to see if that works. I don't really know, but that's something I'm interested in trying out. So this, I believe, is about 260 cards or something like that, which is smaller than any of the sets I've made before. I've been making 300 card sets, but you know, there you go. I think for this one, I will actually re-roll cards that are just, like, not interesting. Not weak, but, like, not interesting. This will be more of a curated set. We're already enforcing mana value, or mana cost even. So I think that that's probably fine, and probably just going to be a more interesting set. So we're going to go through these. We'll re-roll cards if we need to. Let's get started. I have no idea what order these cards are in. I think they're in order by mana cost, yeah, but like not necessarily color. So that's something we're going to look at. Voidinund Shambler is a 1-mana Goblin Warrior. It's an 0/2. At the beginning of your end step, destroy all other creatures with power greater than Voidinund. Oh, it is Voidinund. I said that wrong. Voidinund Shambler's power. Wow. Destroy all other creatures with power. That's a busted card. Holy crap. What? That's cool. Alright. That's a common. I never acknowledge mana sort of rarity in these, but still. Very cool. Cenarius is a 1-mana colorless mirror. It's just a 1/1. I'm going to re-roll that. That's just not interesting. I don't care. I'm re-rolling it. Oh, sorry. Am I going to have to Okay. So you saw that, like, tried to render the image, and therefore it got in its own way. Again, you do want to be careful whenever you're doing stuff like this, because it will update the ID live, and then you just start re-rolling the same card, because it has the same ID. So, things to be aware of. Morning Breeze is a 1-mana artifact creature bird. It's a 1/1. Whenever you crank Morning Breeze, target creature, let's roll that again. You can't, you know. Yeah, so like I said, it's just finding the same card again because it's looking at the card ID. Oh wait, maybe not. Maybe I don't know how this works. Turns out that's possible. Path of Peril is a 1-mana artifact. 1 in tap, sacrifice Path of Peril. Add 1 mana of any color, activate only as a sorcery. That is super bad. But is it bad enough to re-roll? That's the question. Yes, I think it is. So, as you can see, this is going to be a much more curated set. Obviously, I'm not going to just, like, I'm not going to roll infinite times on these cards, but I am going to weed things out ahead of time. I just think it's going to be more interesting. It's something I'm interested in trying. We'll see the difference in the sets and see if they still feel AI generated. Maybe they won't, and that'll feel bad. Artisan of Endurance is a 1-mana artifact that's in tap to add white or black. That's very good. And for black and white, target creature gains Death Touch until end of turn. Black and white can be paid with either white or black. I'm gonna re-roll that. Maybe I shouldn't have. I'm gonna be a little bit like, hey, wiggly on like what counts as a game-breaking card. Technically, that one was like fine as far as rules. It just had reminder text that was not appropriate. As people have mentioned in the comments before, reminder text technically has no rules, but you know it is there to make cards readable. We should probably have reminder text that makes sense on our cards if possible. Hillbark Nectar is a 1-mana 1/1 bird soldier. It has first strike. For 1 mana, Hillbark Nectar gets +2/+2 and enter until end of turn. That is super busted. Holy crap. Alright. We have a busted card in colorless. Coral Labyrinth is a 1-mana white elf. It's a 1/1 with haste. When Coral Labyrinth enters the battlefield, if you control a land, put a 1/1 counter on Coral Labyrinth. So here's the thing. Let me just talk about this for a second. Obviously, there is a bit of a... One of the reasons we don't want to be re-rolling cards willy-nilly is because we don't want the player judgment impact changing the power level, right? If I'm like, well, you know, blue got a really busted card and white gets a really bad card, you should re-roll that. Like, you know, I don't want to be having that influence. So I have been re-rolling cards already. We saw that. And where the line is of what is okay to re-roll based on, like, power is really hard to figure out, and honestly, I don't know. So I'm just feeling this out. I'm gonna try and remain impartial, but you know, take all this with a grain of salt. How's Coral Labyrinth work? It's an elf, weirdly. It has haste, and it enters the battlefield if you control a land. So it's a 2/2 for 1 with haste in white. Great. Enthusiast is a 1-mana Goblin XX. Enthusiast power and toughness each are equal to the number of tribal cards in your graveyard. Enthusiast can't block unless it's blocking an attack. What? I'm going to re-roll this one, actually, for a few reasons. One, there aren't going to be any tribal cards in the set. Having a card that references themes outside the set are like... It's not like it's something I'm never going to allow, but it is like... Why do that? And also, you don't... I mean, someone attacks. There are attacking creatures. It's not blocking an attack. I think that the wording on that is bad. Spearhead Garrison's a 1-mana 1/1 human soldier. It has Death Touch. And whenever Spearhead Garrison deals combat damage to a player, you may attach a scroll to it. If you do, draw a card. Okay, this is interesting. I don't know what that means, and you don't know what that means. Even if it said, like, you can attach an aura to it, you would need a location for the aura to come from. I'm going to re-roll this. I don't think I need to re-roll this, but I think I will. Yeah, you know what? You know what? We're throwing out all the pretense. I just get to make a set today, and I'm going to re-roll cards for it, and I'm going to try and have a good time. That's the new plan. This is going to be the most curated of the sets I've done, and that's going to be okay. Or maybe it's not. I don't know. Tell me in the comments. Ferric's Heed is a 1-mana Eldrazi. It's a 2/1 with reach. Okay. Sure. I'm going to try and not reroll based on, like, power level, but I'm going to reroll based on, like, weirdness. And yeah, obviously, weirdness is, like, a part of the fun of AI sets, but also, I'm trying to make a set here. Uldar Soldier, 1-mana 1/1 Eldrazi. Whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on Uldar Soldier. That is busted. Okay. Wand of Destiny is a 1-mana artifact equipment. Oh, wow, it never makes equipment. I did not see that coming. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each spell or ability you control. You may pay 2 any number of times if you cast it. Equip 2. Dang it, so a few things. One, you do control spells. I don't know if you control abilities. You control them while they're on the stack, but having, like, +1 while something's on the stack, is that ever useful? I mean, I guess it would be, right? Like, if you had a spell that was, like, target creature fights, that happens while the spell's resolving, or at least while, like, other spells are on the stack if it's instant or something. There's, like, fringe use case for this that is so fringe I think it's irrelevant. And it has a reminder text that doesn't mean anything. You may pay 2 any number of times as you cast it. I'm gonna re-roll this one. I guess the thing is, it's like, if the cards being weak are not a reason to re-roll them. Cards being strong are not a reason to re-roll them. But if a card's just, like, never going to get played, what's the point of it? You know? Even in limited, you know? What's the point? Ember Slicer is a 1-mana artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each card in your graveyard. Equip 3. I just had a realization. I'm going to scroll up for a little bit. That's really powerful. Are these... These are not enforcing type, right? No, okay. I thought maybe once it generated its card ID, it might have populated the type here, but it does not. So, that's awesome. Okay. That's great. Ember Slicer looks so good. +1/+1 for each card in your graveyard. Equips for 3, but it's only a 1-mana equipment in the first place. Seems good. I love it when colorless are good. Not because I want everyone's deck to all be colorless. I think it gets kind of boring if everyone's deck is all colorless. But, I mean, it's nice to not be playing favorites for your colors. Because I would, you know? Like, I am biased towards my favorite colors, and I don't want that influencing things. Sledge Elf is a 1-mana 1/1 Eldrazi. It taps for colorless. Cool. And for 3 and tap, you can draw a card, then discard a card. You know what? This card's cool. I like this. That's fun. Biolos' Fury. I hope we get Biolos. How do you think you pronounce that? Spell it. It's a 1-mana 1/1 red human druid. Whenever Biolos' Fury attacks, if you control an island, choose an island type. Then return that card. Okay, that one's a reroll. I liked the idea that it was some color overlap there. That would be kind of fun, but it didn't mean anything. Streamwood Skipper. Also, like, any card that I know I would throw out, because what I always do with these sets, right? If you've watched any of these previous ones, you know I go through the set, and I weed out any card that I think doesn't function. And then it's just like, well, we're not using those cards anyway. The idea here is I'm going to re-roll those cards instead of just cutting them, because we only have 260 cards. This is not a 300 that I'm cutting down to, like, 260. So, we're doing all of them. Streamwood Skipper is a 1-mana 1/1 with Devoid. It's an Eldrazi. It's red, except for it's Devoid. Wait. This card is always Devoid. This is a bug. For 1 mana, Streamwood Skipper gets +1/+1 until end turn. You know what? It's cute. It's cute. You know what? It's cute. It's a cute little Easter egg for somebody who reads the card. I'm okay with that. I'll allow it. Defiant Helmsman is a 1-mana elf warrior. It's a 1/1 with vigilance. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Wow. These 1/1s are busted. Like, so many of these are so strong. Alright, this is the set we're playing. Are these all, like, commons too? Yeah, they are, yeah. Elver Rogue is a 1-mana 1/1 Orc Rogue. For 2 mana, add 1 mana of any color. Huh. So it's like it's a bad filter. I mean, I guess it has to because it doesn't have a limit. It's not like end tap, right? If it was 1 mana filter, then you just filter all of your mana for free, right? So I'm not super excited about it, but I don't think it's re-rollable. Right? It's like, has a use case. I think that's gonna be kind of my thing. Like, does it have a use case? And sometimes being a 2-mana 2/2 with a relevant creature type is a use case, you know? So, I probably will re-roll things that are vanilla unless they're, like, interesting vanilla. Sometimes vanilla's interesting. Just because, you know, we all want an interesting set. Stoney Army Ranger is a 1-mana 1/1 human soldier. It can tap to have it deal 1 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. Certainly not pushed, but I think it's good enough to keep. Unrealization is a great name for an instant. It's a 1-mana red instant. Target creature gets +2/+0 and indestructible. Untap that creature, it gains. This creature can't be blocked this turn. Weird way of wording that, but sure. That's, yeah, cool. It gets plus... Okay, yeah, cool. That's a great card. The undead take a weird look at themselves, but the sentient layover don't notice. Gorgoths Spearbreaker is a 1-mana Eldrazi drone. It's a 1/1. Whenever Gorgoths Spearbreaker or another Eldrazi you control attacks, it deals 2 damage to target player or planeswalker. Do you think this means whenever this attacks, or whenever an Eldrazi other than it attacks, Gorgoth deals 2 damage? I guess the thing is it's not 1 or more anyway, so it still would kick for all of them. I'm not sure if the damage is coming from the Gorgoth or from the Eldrazi that's attacking, but either way, this card's busted. It does hit players or planeswalkers. Wow, okay. This is going to be a pushed set, it looks like, so far. Rise of Nations is a 1-mana instant. Exile target land. Search your library for a card with the same name as that land. Put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle. That is so cool! Oh, I love this! I mean, it's really busted and bad. Like, it's... Yeah, it's a 1-mana exile target land. But the idea of, like, tutoring for a land by destroying your opponents is really interesting. You can only do it if you own that a copy of that land in your deck. But imagine you're playing, like, Commander or something, right? And you just, like, zap your opponent's land, and then you get a copy of it, because it doesn't say basic land. That's cool. I think that's fun. It's, like, it's busted, obviously, but it's fun. Look, if the whole set's busted, then it's fine, unless, like, one color isn't busted or something. I guess that's possible. Sandcrafter Icecrafter is a 1-mana 1/1 construct that says constructed by Vikander Castaway. We're gonna reroll that one. That didn't reroll properly. Reroll again. Come on, reroll for me. Frightful Hosta is a 1-mana Scarecrow. It's a 1/1. It can't block. When Frightful Hosta enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. That's perfectly reasonable. Perfectly reasonable. Fills out that, like, colorless... Like, I actually really like this as a colorless thing. Because it's just, like, not interesting, but, like, anyone could draft this and feel fine. Do you know what I mean? It's a great comment. I like this. Ooh, X Green. Who remembers the X Green from New Capenna? Huh? Anybody? Okay. Oh, I meant to talk about this at the top. Yeah, do I talk about this now? You know what? I'll talk about it in a future video. Remind me in the comments. Crest of Orakoth. I should not say that, because someone's going to be like, do that thing you said, and I'm going to be like, I don't remember what thing I said. Remind me that I want to talk about how I got the data to populate the JSON. Because I didn't just write it by hand. I did some copy pasting and some Excel work. So say that in the comment. That'll be great. Thank you for that. I love you. All right. Crest of Orakoth is an X green instant. You gain X life and draw X cards, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Ooh, interesting. You don't set X. This card's mana cost depends on the number of creature cards in your graveyard. You can't overpay this. Ooh, I love this. Okay. Oh, that's rad. The card is telling you what you have to pay for X. It's a super good card. X life and X cards, but you can't control how much you can pay for it. It's not a like, oh, that's so cool. Oh, I love this. And it's green? Oh, this is such a cool green card. Oh, I love this. This is great. All right, cool. Next. That's rad. Gridded Curb is a 1-mana 1/1 construct. It has Defender, and when it attacks, destroy target artifact or creature. Do I reroll this? Cause, like, if there's a set, if there is a card in the set that lets defenders attack, this is busted. And if there isn't, it's use. You know what? I'll keep it. It's one of those cards that's in the set where you're like, this card's useless right now, but it would be useful in, like, Eternal formats or something. You know what? We'll leave it in. The thing is, you can't play these internal formats because they're busted. Like, what makes these sets work, in my opinion, Steep as a... What? You didn't finish your sentence there. This card is called Steep as a... It's a 1-mana white instant that says counter target spell. I am so tempted to reroll this because I don't like the name. But I don't want to be, like, depriving white from a counterspell. You know what? Let's read the flavor text and decide based on that. My earliest recollection of sun and rain is the hum of the cyclones. This image haunts me still. In fact, my identity and personal style, rooted in my forebears, stem from that loss. Dragon, the orphan, stepfather of Delir. Interesting. Interesting. Welcome everyone in chat. Great seeing you. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for lurking. You're all the best. I'm going to re-roll this. I feel like I shouldn't. You know what? I'm establishing a rule now. If the name doesn't function properly, I'm going to re-roll it. That's a new rule I'm establishing for myself so that I remain impartial. And I'm not just re-rolling this because I don't want white to have a counterspell. I would love white to have a counterspell. I'm not gonna... Yeah, there we go. I as long as I make a rule of it and I stick to that rule, I think it's okay. My rule is that if I make a rule, it's okay that I've made a rule. That's what we're saying. Veiled Master is a 1-mana 1/1 Eldrazi. It's white. Whenever Veiled Master or another white creature enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. Okay, I mean, that's super busted too, so I don't think I think it's fine. At least white didn't, like, get a massive downgrade. I mean, a 1-mana counterspell in white is still busted, but you know what I'm saying. Tribute to Kamagawa. Oh, interesting. Okay. 1-mana instant. Target player sacrifices a land this turn. Each destroys the land it was placed on after the cast. I'm going to re-roll this. Because I don't know what that means. What do you mean each player sacrifices a land this turn? I mean, I guess that's fine. I guess that's, like, not incorrect. Like... Alright, I'm re-rolling it. I'm re-rolling it. I may be slightly arbitrary, but... Like, now here's a question. Do I re-roll this? No, actually, I think I keep this. This has enough of a use case. It's not super push, but it's also, you know, I could see myself running that, especially in limited. Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Envelop of Substance. 1 mana, instant, untapped target creature. Whiptail Alley Finders is a 1-mana red Eldrazi. It's a 1/1. It has, for red, Whiptail Alley Finders gets +1/+1. Okay, cool. Fire Breathing. Great. Is that their second Fire Breathing card? Is that like... Wait. Do they have a functional reprint in the same set already? Yeah. They have Streamwood Skipper, which is a devoid Eldrazi. And then they've got Whiptail Alley Finder, which is a non-devoid Eldrazi. I'm not going to re-roll it, but maybe I should. That's a little disappointing, just from a variety standpoint. Orc Frantic Crusader is a 1-mana Orc Warrior with Trample. It's a 1/1. You know what? That's not great, but it's fine. If you can, like, you know, maybe no one's going to be expecting anything from your 1-mana 1/1 Trampler, and then you hit him with a pump spell. Yeah, that's fun. It's a target for other things. Makes a good common. Yeah. Eternal Spell Shatter is an X-red instant. This spell costs X less to cast for each card in your graveyard. I'm going to reroll this one. Woolvens Legacy is X and a red. It's a sorcery. Remember, I didn't set the actual card types for these, so they can change from rerolls. Woolvens Legacy deals X damage to any target, where X is the number of elves you control. Okay, we've got another one of these cycle where it cares about... Oh, now I want to do a whole cycle like this, but I'm not gonna. But the idea that it, like, something outside of the casting is setting your... what X is. I'm not sure how this exactly works, because when you cast a spell, if the number of elves you change between the casting and the resolving, what happens? I think when you cast it, you must pay the number of elves there are, and when it resolves, I think X changes. So if you could cast this for 1, and then instant speed cast, like, make a bunch of elves, and then it would do more damage. I don't know. I'd have to ask a judge about that, but I'm not entirely sure. But I think that would work, which is cool. That's a cool, interesting interaction. What I will say, however, though, is I don't expect to see many red elves. But hey, this could be a cool, like, multicolor red-green deck. Yeah, you know, like the Cabaretti or something might do. Cryptologist is a 1-mana Eldrazi 1/1. It has first strike, and it has red. Each player shuffles their hand and discards a card. Okay, I've seen this before in AI, where it will say shuffle, and it won't tell you what to do. If you just shuffle, that means shuffle your deck. If you shuffle a card into your deck, then you shuffle a card into your deck. If you shuffle your hand, does it inherently mean into your deck? I don't know. If it shuffles your hand into your deck, that is very funny, because it just basically means everyone discards, except for it's not in their graveyard, so it's worse for a lot of people. Do I reroll this? I'm going to reroll it because I don't know what the first line means. I think that the correct thing would be, like, no, the shuffle part is irrelevant. You just kind of, like, shuffle your hand and it doesn't matter. The order changes. Who cares? And then you discard a card, which is a quite interesting ability. The ability of just, like, red, everyone discards. Like, oh, that's powerful. You have to discard 2, but it's not a cost, so your hand could be empty. Anyway, we rerolled it already. It's too late now. The thing about this is, like, there's always another card. So, like, it's fine. Ephraim Fleet Transporter is a 1-mana human pirate with lifelink. It's a 1/1, and when Ephraim Fleet Transporter enters the battlefield, target creature gets +1/+0 and gains trample until end of turn. That's kind of cute. Yeah, that's cute. It's like a sorcery speed, give something trample for 1 mana, and you have a 1/1 with lifelink left over. Cool. Why not? Why not? Sometimes that'll be relevant. Oftentimes you're just gonna like it as your first, as a you know, turn 1 play. Dredge Orc is a 1-mana orc with haste. It's really boring, but you know what? You gotta have some boring cards to roll at the common slots. I'm okay with that. I think that's great. It does have haste in blue. That's kind of cool. You could do some stuff with that. Dar Mage of Varkan is a 2-mana human wizard. It's a 2/2, and it has blue. Target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. That is the most pushed fire breathing I've ever... What? I mean, I said before, I'm not gonna re-roll based on cards being broken. I don't even know if this is the most broken card we've seen so far. Maybe, but I don't know. Yeah. Temple Tower Arbiter is a 2-mana elf warrior in red. Elves in red are relevant in this format, apparently. It's a 2-mana 1/1. It has haste. Whenever Temple Tower Arbiter attacks, if you control a dragon, create a 1/1 red dragon. Wow. So you have to have your first... Once you have 1 dragon, you have that token to give you more tokens. But you need to get a dragon in the first place, which might be hard. I like this card, actually. This card's really cool. Alive at the end of the world? I hope this card is good. That's such a cool name for an instant. It's a 2-mana green instant. It says target creature gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is its mana value. Huh. I don't think that's as interesting as the name of the card would imply, but it's cool. Like, I like that. Like, just double something stats in a lot of ways. are often. Or if you have something that's really small but has a really high cost, then you just, boom, pump it up pretty hard. I'm into it. I think it's a fun card. Old World Ally is our first multicolor card. It is a blue and a black. It's an Eldrazi Shaman with flying. It's a 2/2. Whenever Old World Ally deals combat damage to a player, you may tap target creature and exile it unless that player pays 1. Wow. Okay. Sure. Interesting. Pay me 1 or I'll exile your creature. The tapping is kind of irrelevant, but that's cool. For 5 mana, including a blue and a black, you can return Old World Ally from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Oh, okay. I was like, what's this gonna do? Is it gonna bounce itself to your hand? Whoop-de-doo. It's not like it has an ETB. No, it's a resurrect for 5 mana. That's really good. Wow. I love that. I mean, the Eldrazi set's the most pushed. You know, that's not so surprising. Spire Cloak is a 2-mana Eldrazi soldier. When Spire Cloak enters the battlefield, if you cast it, destroy target permanent or enchantment. Wait. All right, that's cool. I mean, it's very strong. Target permanent or enchantment. I mean, it's redundant, but it's not wrong. Okay, so it's a 2-mana 1/3, but it's got a kill spell attached to its ETB. It's cool that you can't flicker this. I actually quite like that. Obviously, it's still like overpowered, but you can't flicker this is a really nice like addition. I think you could make this like if you made this cost more, this would be really interesting. Like ETB, kill a thing, leave a body, and you know, you can't flicker this. It just does that. But for 2 mana, that's obviously a lot. Cool. Especially because it's not just a kill creature spell, it's any permanent. You can blow up a land or an enchantment or an artifact. Really, really strong. Bargain Chainmail. I don't know why it's formatted like that, but I'll allow it. 2 mana instant. As an additional cost to cast the spell, sack a non-creature you control. That's interesting. So it could be a land, it could be like an enchantment, it could be like a treasure token. That's cool. Okay. Break it, which means it deals damage to creatures in the form of -1/-1 counters. Splice it into a chainmail. Okay, this card doesn't work. That was interesting up until that. Like, I liked the setup of like this is an instant, additional cost, sacrifice the thing. But and I love it when it like makes up its own keywords. Like, what's break it do? Turns out breaking it is I can't remember that, like, withering or whatever it's called. I can't remember what that's called. Splice it into a chainmail. Alright, we'll re-roll that. That's a shame. I was hoping that would be good. Covert Splicer is a 2-mana merfolk wizard in white. Cool. It's a 3-mana, it's a 2-mana 2/2, which for 3 mana and tap, target creature gains haste until end of turn. Then it goes on to say, 2 and a white can be paid with 1 mana from a cooldown prompt. So I think it has to be rerolled. Unfortunately. Martial Breaker is a 2-mana merfolk soldier. Okay, they're still on the merfolk. It's a 2/1 with vigilance. Fair. When it deals combat damage to a player, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. Great. Look at that great card. Is it pushed? Maybe. Not as much as other things that we've seen. Mistwalk Relic is for a green and a red. An Eldrazi Horror. It's a 1/2 with flying. Okay. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control a plane or hand an artifact card with flying, you may draw a card if it's a red card. Or if you have more cards in hand than you can cast a spell. That's yeah. Phantasmal Sea Wilder is for a red and a green, a 2/1 with Vigilance and Haste. Okay, it got better. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice Phantasmal Sea Wilder unless you pay 1. It's got upkeep. I mean, it's not terrible. Yeah, you know what? It's a 2/1 with Vigilance and Haste that has upkeep of 1. Sure. Yeah, why not? Neutral Evoke is a black and a red for an instant. Exile target creature or land with mana value equal to its power. Huh. That's very specific, but I think it functions, right? Now, I don't know if it is target creature or land with mana value equal to its power, or if it is target creature or land which has mana value equal to its power. So, I think it's the second one, right? So, a land has mana value equal to its power. They're both null. They're both 0. So, that's fine. And then the creature one, though, is very specific. But a lot of things do have, you know, mana value equal to their power. It's a very weird specification. And generally, a 2 mana or less kill spell will have a restriction like that. You know, kill a non-angel. How is this any different? Okay. But it can also blow up land. Yeah, alright. It works. It passes my test, at least. Queen of the Seas is a 2 mana 1/3 Eldrazi. Whenever you cast a spell that targets Queen of the Seas, draw a card. Sweet! Rad! Love it. Enrage Mire is a 2 mana white instant. Create 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. This is the kind of thing I would always scoff at, but like turns out this is like pretty much the going rate, isn't it? Like that's just kind of a normal spell. Like they had Captain's Call in Dominaria Knight, and that was like 3 mana for 3/1/1s or something. I don't remember. Something like that. Elf Merchant is a 2 mana Elf Shaman. Okay. When you cast an Elf spell, Elf Merchant gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Cool. It has all the beauty of its spirit, yet it stands against all. So, to remind everyone, this is Eldrazi Oceans. That's the name of the set. I don't really know exactly what's going on, but you can see there's lots of water in the yard. Like, I think that there's this a plain that's like all sea. But there's still some like, but you know, it's not all underwater. It's just like all sea. And as such, in my headcanon, like water, obviously like blue mana is very, very like, there's a lot of blue mana going on, but I think it's sort of like almost like ambient in a way that like, it's like just being used to it. You know what I mean? Like different environments have different levels of like nitrogen or whatever, and you're just like, yeah, that's just normal. Or like different places have different like stuff in their water and you don't really notice it, you know? I think it's like that. So even though we're at sea, it's still a green-white card because of other stuff. Anyway, this is a Chimera Wildspeaker. It's for green and a white, a 1/1 elf. For 1 green, Chimera Wildspeaker gains first strike until end of turn. This is much worse than some of than most of the 1-drops. But you know what? I don't think it's re-rollable. I think it's fine. I think it's like, yep, that's like common you're not super excited about, but if you're going elves, might be relevant. It's not in red though, so that might be a little bit annoying. Oh well. They can't all be winners. They also can't all be losers. Corrupted Shore is a 2 mana instant. Choose 1, destroy target non-basic land. Not the best land destruction we've seen so far. In fact, compared to that other one, basically useless, because why wouldn't you take the other one instead? That said, there will be non-basics in this set, so keep an eye out for that. Blazing Courser is a 2 mana instant. It's green. Deals 3 damage to any target. It's just a shock. It's a shock in green for some reason. Yeah, I'm into it. It's not even green-red. Look at all this fire in the art. That's great. In Bant Soil, his bow provides protection from sun and from frost. Isn't that lovely? Havoc Tormentor is a 2-mana Eldrazi Shaman. It's a 1/1. For 3 mana, sacrifice another creature, destroy target land. There's so much land destruction in this set. Ah! Tormentor shares the Kajuri bloodline with many of its riders, and many other Eldrazi can take its deadly kicks. Cool. Mouthful of Tears is an amazing name for a spell. What? That's so good! This is Meathook Massacre, isn't it? It's X and black. That's Meathook Massacre. For an instant, scry 1. Look at the top card of your library. You may put that card in the bottom of your library. I don't want to reroll cards for being too weak. I want to only roll them for, like, being broken. But you didn't even use the X. I'm calling executive decision here and rerolling this. Mouthful of Tears is so good, though. Oh, that's so disappointing. Pyroactive Zenadrag. You know, for an ocean-themed set, there's a lot more fire going on than I was expecting. Pyroactive Zenadrag is X black sorcery. It can't be countered. When it is put into a graveyard from anywhere, return it to its owner's hand. Okay, so it's 2 mana, can't be countered, like, loop it, get Infinite Storm. I mean, that's not a terrible card, but I'm not interested. We're re-rolling this. I want an X card. Come on. X black. Fate Resolve is a sorcery until end of turn. Each creature you control with a blue mana cost, not that is blue, just has a blue mana cost, that's a weird way of wording it, becomes a copy of target creature until end of turn. That's a really cool effect. You may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. This is such a good spell. This is such a good spell, and I have to re-roll it because it doesn't have an X. I want that X. What? It's cut off now. I finally got there and it's cut off. Delina's Slaughter of Enchantresses, X black. There's an extra black pip that you can't see. It's a sorcery. For each creature an opponent controls, Delina's Slaughter of Enchantresses deals X damage to that creature. It's just like, that's really good. I mean, here's the thing. The next one's also going to be good, right? I shouldn't mind. The next one's also going to be good. Right? X black. Windshield Shield. That's such a bad name. Each opponent gains X life. This effect lasts X, where X is the greatest power among all creature types, cycling 2. I don't even know what Slice of Rage was. The Moon Lurking. X black sorcery. Search your library for X cards, reveal them, put them in your hand, then shuffle. That is so busted! What? I mean, X black to, like, draw X spells would already be busted. You get to tutor them? What? I guess the benefit, like, I mean, it's a sorcery, so it's not, like, the most busted thing, but, like, holy crap. That's the one. That one wins. I don't even know if that was the strongest card we saw, but, like, that's the one that wins, because it's formatted correctly. Ah! It's gonna be one of those days, apparently. Aldrovic Drake is a 2-mana 2/2 Drake with flying, okay. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control an island, okay, or an island your opponents control. What? At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control an island, or an island your opponents control, you may put a woman counter on Eldritch Drake. This card is busted. I can't figure... Is it actually broken, like, mechanically, though? I don't think it is. If you control an island, great. Or an island your opponents control. Like, if I control one my opponents control... I shouldn't re-roll this. But I'm going to. Execute decision to re-roll that. Salvage is a 2-mana instant, destroy target creature, it can't be regenerated. I mean, that's... okay. It's not interesting. The other one was much more interesting. It was a flyer for 2 mana that grows every turn, which is just, like, without even any cost, because you're gonna have an island. I guess unless you're all non-basics, maybe, but, like... Oh, this is something else. Part of me wanted to get rid of that because it was super busted. And, like, I don't think that's good. I don't think I should be making those calls. Because some things have been very busted and I haven't rerolled them. This is draining. Frozen Plunge is a 2-mana instant. It's black. You may cast Frozen Plunge from your graveyard as though it had flash. To cast it without payment, put a charge counter on it, and it functions as though it doesn't have a charge counter on it. It has no other text. That's useless. Crypto Damagod is a 2-mana 1/2 Eldrazi. It has Devoid, and it has Flying, and it just broke, and I have to re-roll it. Good. Demon Wingwalker is a 2-mana Eldrazi drone. It's a 1/2. This time it does not have flying, despite its name. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, target creature can't block this turn. That's cool. That's quite cool. That's quite a cool card. That's kind of like flying. It's a form of evasion, yeah. Vanishing Essence is a 2-mana instant. Choose one. Exile the top card of your library. For no benefit, you can just do it. Draw 3 cards. That's very good. Exile the top card of your library. You want some options. We give you both options. And you gain 2 life. So, 2-mana draw 3. It's pretty good. Divine Barrister is a 2-mana Eldrazi Shaman. It has first strike and haste and is a 2/2. Pretty good. If a creature would die, you may reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, put it onto the battlefield. If you do, destroy target creature with a different power. What? What? If a creature would die... Which doesn't mean, like, when it does die, right? Usually this is like, if it would do this instead. It doesn't say do this instead. But I guess it matters for, like, timing windows. Like, it happens, before it leaves the battlefield, I guess, kind of, is the idea. I don't know. It's not like when it enters the graveyard or when it leaves the battlefield. It's just, it's on its way out, but it hasn't... I don't even know where... I don't know where that goes on the stack. And then... You reveal the top card of your library. If the revealed card is a creature card, it goes directly onto the battlefield, which is wild. Then also, it destroys target creature with a different power. I assume different power from the creature you just cheated out, which means it could kill the Divine Barrister, which is interesting. Of course, the Divine Barrister would then trigger itself, and it would go again. This card's too good. This card's too good. If the whole set's too good, then it's fine, right? I said this before. That we all agree on this? Rock Guard Grinder is a black and a red Goblin Shaman. It's a 2/2 with haste. It has super fire breathing. It's got 2/2 fire breathing. Okay. I mean, there was like a blue one that got like 1 blue for 3/3, so this isn't even that scary. I mean, it's got haste. That's pretty scary. Elvish Bounty Hunter is a 2-mana 1/1 Elf Rogue. Whenever Elvish Bounty Hunter deals combat damage to a player, create a 2/2 green goblin creature token. Sweet. Love it. That's great. Let's go. Why not? Battle Decree is a 2-mana bird cleric. It's a 2/2. It taps to have choose target opponent reveal the top card of their library. If that card is a green bird, what? Battle Decree deals damage to that opponent. That's so specific. What? What? It's not like even if it's green or like a creature or even a bird. It's a green bird? I mean, I'm not going to re-roll this one. I'm not going to do it. It's a 2-mana 2/2 with an interesting, like, type line. I mean, you get to look at the top card of your opponent's library. Sometimes that's relevant, right? Like, it reveals it. It still, like, gains you information. Maybe that's relevant. I don't know. Oh, wow. Why am I exhausting myself so much? Retractable Turret is a 2-mana artifact creature Phyrexian Thallid? What? I want to see Phyrexian Thallids now. That sounds awesome. As long as it's your turn, Retractable Turret has Death Touch. Cool. It's a 2/2 for 2. You spend 3 and target creature can't block this turn. I don't get the flavor. I'm fine with this card. Moving on. Next. We don't have all day. Delphid Ship is a 2-mana artifact. You can tap it for red. No. You can tap it for black or green. You can spend 2, tap, and sacrifice it to gain 2 life. Sure. It's weird that black and green get a mana rock and no one else does, but whatever, I guess. Deft Control is a 2-mana 1/1 white elemental. Deft Control can't block. Whenever a creature bloaks a spell or ability, that's not a thing, an opponent controls, destroy that creature. We are re-rolling this card. Been a while. Waterholly Watcher is a 2-mana 2/1 Eldrazi with Vigilance. As long as you control Waterholly Watcher, it's a weird, you usually don't have to say that, but okay. Each opponent may activate the ability of any non-land permanent. What? That's not worth it. What? Is this like a treachery target? Do you try and treachery this to your opponent? Each opponent may activate the abilities of non... Yeah, wow. I assume that's what that... Okay, well, I guess that's a question, right? Do we say that that's what that means, or do we re-roll this? Because I think that's what it means. It means that, like... There is precedent for, like, being able to activate other people's abilities, I think, right? I love the idea of, like, here's a card that means I can activate, or anyone can activate anyone's, activated abilities. That's super interesting. But it's not super well worded, and also it's just bad because it's only your opponents, so it's like a downside. I'm keeping it. That's great. It's weird. Orton of Bolas. Oh, is Bolas relevant here? 2-mana Orc Cleric. It's a 2/1. It has haste. For 2, a 1 and a white, each opponent reveals the top card of their library. Then each opponent puts a card from that card's graveyard on top of their library in any order. It's a very interesting ability. Minotaur Sentry is a 2-mana 1/3 Minotaur warrior. As Minotaur Sentry enters the battlefield, you may pay 1 and a white. If you do, create a 1/1 white cat creature token with haste, then sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. The Minotaur or the cat? I assumed the cat, but for some reason the wording made me think the Minotaur. If you do, create a 1/1, then sacrifice it. I'd have to look at other cards, but that strikes me as weirdly worded. So what is this? It's a 2-mana 1/3 with kicker of 2 to make a 1/1 with haste that dies at the end of turn. Not super interesting, but, you know, eh. You can do like flicker shenanigans because it's not technically a kicker. It's an ETB. Okay. Sure. Noble Scale Cavalry is a 2-mana 1/1 human knight. It can tap to have target creature you control gain trample until end of turn. Not interesting, but fine. Okay. Again, sometimes you just gotta have... Okay, that's an uncommon for some reason. Curious Accomplice. Ooh. Is a 2-mana human pirate. I'm into it. It's a 1/3. When Curious Accomplice enters the battlefield, you may put a 1/1 counter on target creature an opponent controls. This card is not good, probably, but super interesting. I love a card that lets me do weird things that I don't know why I would want to do. And I just like the flavor on this. It's Curious Accomplice. You play this pirate that buffs your enemy. Like, why would I want that? I don't know. Maybe I need their power to equal their mana cost or something for some reason. Is that worth it? Probably not. Okay, I hope everyone's getting like an even number of duds because that would be so nice and convenient for me. Either way, even if they don't, this is going to be still the most balanced set of all the sets I've made because it's actually going to have color balancing. Even if the power is not balanced between the colors, it's still going to like have a decent number of cards. Bishop of Ravnica. Okay, for a red and a green and Eldrazi, a 2/2, it has the text green. It has the text green. The mountain and this island would give all the time of your life. Goodbye. Drool of Slivers? Red and a green, it destroys targeted creature. Great. Good. Yeah. Cool. Sure. I like it. I love having some kill spells. Mortis Rogue is a 2-mana 1/1 human rogue with haste. When Mortis Rogue enters the battlefield, if you attacked this turn, exile target creature an opponent controls. That's super cute. It's a it's a haste that cares if you've already attacked. That's a really cool design. In this case, obviously super busted still, because it's just like, as long as you've attacked, you get to kill something. And it's like an exile, it's super killing it. You're never going to play this for 2, and I mean, maybe you would if you needed to like get in for 1 damage and your opponent doesn't have anything, but like, probably you're going to save this until it's relevant to kill it, something. But, you know what, as far as kill spells goes, this is kind of an interesting one, right? It's 2-mana kill spell, but it's sorcery speed, right? Because it's a creature. And you have to have attacked. And you can't attack unless you have at least 1 creature to attack with, right? Like, you can't say, like, I have 0 creatures and all 0 of them attack, I've attacked this turn. That's not how that works. So, like, yeah, this is like, it's a kill spell with a restriction. Except it also gives you a 1/1, but let's ignore that part. And it exiles. Still, like, as far as pushed things go, it's not as pushed as it might seem. Inargiated Warlord is a 2-mana 1/1 Eldrazi warrior. When Inargiated Warlord enters the battlefield, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn for each creature that entered the battlefield this turn. So, that's not useful. Unless you gave it haste. I guess if you gave this haste, it could be kind of cool. But, like, not that cool. Just mildly cool. It's a mildly cool thing you could do, but probably not a relevantly cool thing. I don't know. It's got fringe use case, and that's good enough for me. Big Scrawl is a 2-mana instant. It's blue. It counters target spell. It gains haste until end of turn. It can deal like... Okay. Blue finally got a counter spell, and you know what? I'm going to re-roll it, because it didn't make any sense. Eldrazi Druid is a 2-mana Minotaur Warrior. Obviously. It's a 1/1. It has protection from blue. I don't really like protection from color effects, unless it's choose a color and gain protection. I'm okay with those. For 1 blue, Eldrazi Druid gets +1/+0 for each blue creature and from each other creature you... Scribbling Essence is a 2-mana instant that says you gain 3 life. I mean... I said I wasn't going to reroll things just because they're bad. Well, you did say if you would, like, never draft them. Yeah, but, like, you might. You might draft this. Right? Like, there are bad cards that you still draft because it's draft. Yeah. I mean, if I care about instants, if this said, like, choose a creature, or, like, target a creature, then gain 3 life, and it did nothing with the target, that would be relevant, because there was that other card that cared about being targeted by spells, right? Like, that would still be useful, but this, I don't know if I would ever run this. Oh well, blue's pushed anyway. Faded Druid is a 2-mana Elf Druid. In red, that's relevant, we know this. It's a 2/2, it has Flash. Faded Druid enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it. Okay, it's a 3/3 for 2. With Flash, this is pretty good. For 3 mana, discard a card. Okay. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Okay. I mean, that's expensive, but it's already a good creature, so yeah, sure. Blessed Ephidites is a green and a white 2/2 Centaur Druid. I'm into it. When Blessed Ephidites dies, it deals 1 damage to each creature without flying. Cool. That's a... Yeah, cool. Cool. That's a cool card. Cool. Yeah, cool. Life Crafter. For a green and a 2-mana green Eldrazi, it's a 2/2. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may look at the top card of your library. Okay. If it's an Eldrazi permanent, put it onto the battlefield tapped and attack this turn. Ooh, that's super interesting. I don't think we have precedent for this, and I think it is debatable what this means, but I have such a visceral not visceral, but like such an immediate reaction of like, oh, I know exactly what that means, that I think I'm going to allow it. It's just, you must attack this turn, right? It doesn't say you must, but it just says attack this turn. It doesn't say immediately go to combat or anything. It just says, yeah, if it's Eldrazi permanent, it goes directly to the battlefield, but you have to attack this turn. Cool. It's like being goated, but it's not an individual creature must attack. It's just, in general, you as a player must attack. I think that's a good mechanic. If they haven't done that yet, they should. That's a good... Like, yeah, it's like, you know, sometimes you have a chump blocker, or you've got sacrifice fodder. You might need them for, I'm forced to attack, so my 1/1 guy who's going to die attacks and dies, right? Like, oh, I like that. I like that a lot. That should be a mechanic. That's so much more... I mean, it's not more interesting than Goad, but it's a different thing. This is not rolling yet, sorry. Reflective Pulse is a 2-mana white instant. It has Radiate, which means any amount of damage this deals to a creature is deducted from its power. It also has cycling 1. So, it's 1 mana, draw 1. Try, go, come on, roll. Cadaverous Guard is a 2-mana Minotaur warrior. I did not expect Minotaurs to be like a prominent creature type on this plane. That is so cool. Yeah, let's go. Minotaurs are a thing. They don't have any synergy yet, but there's still time. There's plenty of time. 2-mana 1/1 Vigilance. As long as you have life. Can I allow this? I mean, there are some situations where you have a life total of 0 or less and haven't lost the game. That happens in rare situations. But you wouldn't describe it as having life. Like, I think that if I showed this to someone, they would all come to the same conclusion. But it's not properly worded, right? It's not like as long as your life total is 1 or higher, which is a really silly, like, if an actual card got printed that was like, as long as your life total is 1 or higher, that would be very funny. But there are situations where that matters. If you have like a Platinum Angel or something, right? Like, yeah, okay, sure, yeah, okay, sure, yeah. I like this. It's literally just a 2-mana 2/2 with Vigilance and First Strike. It's like, it's fine. It's just such a dumb way of wording it. In white, you actually might get, like, Platinum Angel stuff, right? Yeah. Tranquil Drake is a 2-mana Drake with flying. It's a 1/1. There's not been much flying in this set so far. I'm a little worried about it. Tap. Tranquil Drake gets +1/+1 for each creature you control with flying on the battlefield. Oh, that's cool! Okay, I like that as a mechanic. It's not super useful. It basically means Tranquil Drake is a defender, right? Like, you can attack as a 1/1 flyer if you want to, but it can block with much higher, power and toughness. At baseline, it's +1/+1, because it doesn't say other creature, it's just each creature you control with flying. But if you have multiple flyers, and maybe your flyers are attacking, but this is your defending flyer or something. Okay. I like this one. This is a cool card. It's Tranquil Drake. It's not super aggressive. I mean, you could theoretically, if you had a way of like tapping it and untapping it, like, I don't know, maybe like a 1-mana blue spell or something, then you could buff it and then still attack. But like most situations, it's blocking. I like it. That's a cool card. I like that. Thrombus the Conclave is a 2-mana Dinosaur Shaman. Yeah, let's go! My boy Thrombus! 2-mana 2/2. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Thrombus the Conclave was in your graveyard, you may put a creature card from your hand. Holy crap, no! What? Does this actually activate from your graveyard? What? No. I've never fully understood how to tell if a card's effect can work from the graveyard. Because generally speaking, a card's effect only works if it's on the battlefield. But some things talk about being in the graveyard. And it's like, well, okay, clearly I need to be in the graveyard for that to work. So that's like an exception to that rule. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Thrombus the Conclave was in your graveyard, okay, I guess it like adds a little trigger. I've seen this before, actually. I've seen cards that talk about the idea of like, first, usually the way it's worded is like, if Thrombus the Conclave is in your graveyard, at the beginning of your upkeep, do this thing, right? So like, it checks at the beginning of the upkeep, and then if you had another like beginning of the upkeep thing that put it in, you would miss your opportunity, right? So I think it's basically doing that. The wording is just weird. This card's super busted. Holy crap. Unless it doesn't work. I don't know, right? Like, I'm not entirely sure if this actually functions. I think it does. Alright. I wish this was a legendary creature. This is the only problem. Thrombus the Conclave being a legendary, that would be so cool. Look at this mythic rare legendary. It's not. It's not. But that's fine. The Thrombus. Yes. Renew the Ocean is a 2-mana green instant. If you control another Naya Mine, you may cast this spell as though it were a green mana point. We're going to re-roll this card. I love it when cards refer to each other. It's only really relevant if you are forging cards one at a time, because the card's not showing up. Like, the odds are so low that's going to show up. But Eldrazi Mystic is a 2-mana 2/1. It's an Elf Shaman. When Eldrazi Mystic dies, each opponent loses 2 life. Cool. Simple. Not super interesting, but cool. Great. Fill out your little... Like, I think what you probably could do is you could go through all these cards and then give them ratings, right? Like, I think if you were going to give things rarity, you'd have to do it manually. And then you're adding another whole thing where, like, the player or the user is dictating something onto the cards and it's not something you added. But, like, this is like, you know, I mean, maybe it's uncommon, I don't know. But, like, this is rare or mythic, right? Like, we can agree on that. So, you know what I'm saying. I think that would be the way you would have to do that if you were going to try and seriously make a custom AI set. And again, I mentioned this before, this is way closer to using AI as a tool to make a custom set. But I'm also not going to be tweaking the numbers. I'm not going to be like, ooh, that's a really good card. Let's just give it one more toughness. Like, nope. Nope. I'm certainly putting some input in, and I'm not, like, completely just going off myself. But I lost track of my sentence there. Terrain Runner is a 2-mana Eldrazi. It's a 1/2 with haste. That's appropriate. Terrain Runner can't block creatures with power less than or equal to the number of islands in the party. You were so close. You were so close, Terrain Runner. You were so close. Spyrogue is a 2-mana 1/2 Goblin Rogue. I'm just going to double check there's no hidden text here. Give me a second. Let's just do a little quick check. Let's just do a quick check on that. Okay. No, there's no hidden text. All the text is on the card. It checks out. We love to see that. Okay. Spyrogue is a 2-mana 1/2 Goblin Rogue. For 1 red, Spyrogue gains Death Touch until end of turn. This means the next time an opponent would deal combat damage to a player this way, the next time the player would... Never mind, it's irrelevant. This card doesn't function. Okay, cool, moving on. Don't have to worry about that. Spite of Time is a great name for a card. Is that a real card? It might be. Let me know in the comments. Spite of Time is a 2-mana instant, destroy target non-land permanent. Great. Splice 2 non-land permanents into 1. If that had reminder text, I would have been so happy. If that had reminder text that was like, you know, combined their power and toughness or something. That would be so great. I could imagine what Splice 2 non-land permanents into 1 might mean, but it doesn't. It doesn't mean that. That's not what it actually means. That sucks, because this is like a really good kill spell. I mean, it's not like appropriate for red, but still, that's never stopped us before. Burrowing Horror is a 2-mana. Okay, this is a stronger card, so fine. It's a 2-mana 1/1 that taps to destroy target creature. It's still Eldrazi Horror. You know what? Fine. Fine, you win. I mean, I guess the downside of that is that it doesn't have haste, so like it has to stick for a turn, and it's only got 1 health, so it could get pinged down. I mean, it's good. It's a cool card. Eldrazi Fanatic is a 2-mana Eldrazi minion. It has Flicker. I don't know what that does, but it has it. Whenever you cycle or exile a land card, sure, target creature gets +1/+0 and gains haste until end of turn. That's a cool effect. If that was, weirdly enough, if that line was in parentheses and was reminder text for the word flicker, this card would work. But it doesn't. So it doesn't work. Isn't that bizarre? Okay, Whatever. Mind Rush is a 2-mana instant with Convoke. Your creatures can help cast this spell. Each creature you tap while casting this spell pays for 1 color, generic or 1 mana of that creature's color. Draw a card. I mean... Huh. I mean, red always has had kind of bad card draw anyway. But it's not like it... Like, what is this? It's like... I guess if you care about spell slinging, this could be relevant. Which, yeah, I mean, if you're like making like an Izzet deck, yeah, I mean, this would be kind of cool in an Izzet deck, actually, right? Where you're just like, I don't care that all I'm doing is drawing the card that this card would have been if this card wasn't in the deck. I'm getting to cast a spell, and all I had to do was tap some of my creatures, or even pay 1 or 2. Yeah, you know what? It's not super flashy, but I think it is relevant. Next. Spine Saw Guide is a 2-mana elf warrior. It has haste. For 2 and a 1... Sorry, it's a 2-mana 2/1 elf warrior. Again, red elves are a theme of this set, apparently. It has haste, and for 1 red, you can tap it. Spine Saw Guide gets +1/+0 until end of turn. That is trash. That is so trash garbage. Cool. I mean, it's not the most horrible, but it's pretty bad. Cry Vault. Ooh, that's a cool sounding spell. It is a white and a blue for an instant. You gain life equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. Reminder text. This means that you may cast this card from your graveyard for its keeper's sake. Then that card's power is this effect's losing power. Then draw a card. So, you know. Kalikiri Sword. For a white and a blue, it's an instant. It has reminder text. White can be paid with either blue or 2 life. So that's pretty cool, right? That's a pretty cool effect. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool right there, yeah. Iridlat Outrider is a 1/1 Eldrazi Shaman for white and a blue at the beginning of your upkeep if you control a land. If you control a land you control, put a 1/1 counter on Iridlat Outrider. So, we saw basically this exact same effect earlier, and I re-rolled it. And the wording on that one did make less sense than this, but not much less sense. That card also had flying. This card's fine. Cool. Again, I shouldn't be rolling things because they're broken, though. I don't think that was broken. I think it just was annoying. I want this to be clean. I want to make a clean set here. We'll have some jokes, but for the most part, they gotta make sense. Harbor Serpent is a 2-mana 2/1 Centaur Warrior. It has haste. As long as Harbor Serpent, again, this is a Centaur. I want to be clear about this is a Centaur. Don't get it twisted. As long as Harbor Serpent is activated, it can attack and tap as though it didn't have a tap. You know? Her service to Atlantis is especially valued. That Harbor Serpent, that Centaur Warrior. Rage for Cybio is a 2-mana blue instant. If you control 2 or more Alola units... Wait, like from Pokemon? Exile those cards instead. You gain 2 life for each exile... For each exile target this way. Sometimes, a rage doesn't last. Sometimes, a glory lasts only a day. Farine, Private General, said that. Ephysia's Destruction. Ooh, I hope we meet Ephysia. For 2 mana, instant. Someone's going to tell me that that's like a real Magic character that I just don't know about. Probably not. Maybe. Exile target creature you control, and all creatures with flying you control. I'm trying to figure out if there's any situation where this is useful. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing. I don't want to just reroll any card that is... If a card is, like, bad and boring, maybe I'll reroll it. This card is bad and interesting. I cannot possibly imagine why this would be useful. But, like, if somebody could come up with a combo that made this relevant, that would be so cool. Like, I'd be so please, in the comments, if you could turn Officia's Destruction into, like, a ridiculous combo piece, I really want to know. What the heck? What? I guess there's, like, cards that are, like, your opponent copies a card you cast or something, but, like, even that, there's just, like, there's so much easier ways to do that. This needs to be, like, an interesting combo that's relevant and not easier some other way. Like, someone come up with that, please. I'm leaving it. I'm leaving it in the set. It's a bad common that you're going to be really annoyed to open, and I'm okay with that. Seaweeds is a 2-mana white elemental. It's a 2/2 with one white mana. Seaweeds gets +2/+2 as long as you control a warden. Dang it. So, oh crap. I'm gonna keep this card, I think. I really hope we have wardens. Because, like, that's a creature type, right? Like, replace warden with goblin and this card makes sense, right? As long as you control a goblin. Yeah, okay, cool. Awesome. That's a cool, it's like, it's a fire breathing effect, except for, like, better, because it's 2/2. But it has a condition. You have to control a warden. That's super cool. I hope we're not going to see a warden. If we do, though, that would be so cool. Still probably not worth it. Reach for power. Blue and a black, instant. Blue and a black as you cast this spell. That doesn't make any sense. Let's just take a quick look and see if this actually says something. Oh, it does! The text is cut off, but it says, buyback. If you may pay an additional, I'm not sure what exactly. It just says tap, 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 but clearly 2 of those symbols are blue and a black. I don't know what they actually are. As you cast a spell, if you do, it gains haste. That's not relevant. If you pay this cost, you may return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield. When you do, sacrifice it. When Reach for Power enters the battlefield, draw a card. If you're stacking down against the hammer, look at its hammers. If you can't decide what it's hammering, look at its tail. So, even if this wasn't cut off, this would be a reroll. But interesting, I guess. Kind of, maybe. Soul Realm Warden. It's not a warden! No! Come on! It could have been a warden. That would have been so cool. Aw, dang it. Blue and a black for a 2/2 Elf Shaman. Whenever you cast a blue spell, target creature can't block this turn. It's a perfectly reasonable card. Fine. Next. Oh, Smelting Raiment is a 2-mana colorless artifact. It says, for 2 mana, target player mills 5. That's a lot. That's, like, pretty efficient. And then also, for 2 mana, add white, blue, black. You know what? I'm into that. That's, like, a pretty cool mana rock. This is a cool mana rock. Yeah, it's got filtering, but it doesn't filter perfectly. Right? Because, like, the thing is it's broken, actually. It's infinite mana. Okay, no, that doesn't work. If it was 2 and tap, this would work. This, okay, so, a little peek behind the curtain. I am planning on doing a stream one day where I just try and see how quickly I can generate an infinite loop using Urza's AI cards. This one does it on its own. 2, add 3, spend 2 of that 3, add 3, right? Like, I think, new rule, if a card goes infinite on its own, it gets rerolled. Like if it says, when a creature enters the battlefield, make a creature token, it would go forever, right? Like, that kind of infinite, On its own, we're re-rolling those. We're re-rolling those. 2-card combos are fine. 1-card combos are not. That's just, yeah, it might as well just say gain infinite mana, right? Hallowing Hellion. 2 mana, artifact, creature, god. Yes! Let's go! It's a 2/2. As long as you control a land, it gets +2/+2 and has first strike. I love this idea that we made like a metal god, but it actually sucks. I mean, don't get me wrong. A 2-mana 4/4 with first strike is awesome. It's just not a god. Like, I also like that it's not a legendary god. Like I am slowly constructing the lore for this set in my brain, and clearly some people were like, we need to make a god, so they built like a shrine and they worshipped it like a god, but like, it's not special. There's like all sorts of these, and they're all equally just kind of mediocre mid-range cards. I mean, again, it's a very strong card. It's just, it's not like god level top end card, you know? Oh, it actually has flavor text. Let's see. As the galaxy entered a more severe era of war, okay? Pay attention, this is important. This will be on the quiz. It found itself fighting a losing battle. The fleet found itself thrust into an inferno, and its officers deemed it necessary to investigate the conflagration. Did somebody else make the Hallowing Hellion? Oh, I want to do a video sometime where I do like a lore deep dive on a fake AI set. I think that would be so much fun. Like, it would just be like, doesn't make sense. I've had comments on some videos just like digging into the lore. I see you, Hack and Slay. It's super good. I love it. It's so good. I should do that sometime. Anyway, we're keeping that card. Next. Silence's Fate is for blue and a black. It's an instant. When you cast this spell, sacrifice 2 target creatures. It's not as an additional cost, though, which is weird. Huh. Flashback, 2. You may cast this card from your graveyard for its flashback cost. War of the Dungeons. Oh, wait, no. War for Dungeons. For blue and a black, it's an instant. It has Death Touch, which means... Okay, so Death Touch is an ability word. Of course, ability words, as we know, do not have rules text. They simply catch your eye so you know, oh, this next text is going to follow a pattern that I'm used to seeing. Death Touch, of course, means return up to 2 target artifact cards from your graveyard to your hand. Obviously, that's, you know, we're used to seeing what Death Touch means. Then it also goes on to say, each creature you control has Trample, which has reminder text. As we know, Trample means to break a spell, sacrifice it, then return it to its owner's hand. Eldrazi love freshwater. No Windfall for blue and a black is an instant. It says create a 1/1 blue elemental creature token with flying. It can't block, and its hit points are 8 instead of 4. I don't know what the flavor text was. Sky Fist for blue and a black is an instant, which says counter target spell unless the controller pays 1. You gain 2 life. Kind of boring, but like actually a reasonable spell. He's out of his element in the harsh waters of Zendikar. I don't know where we are. I think we might be in like a weird cosmic ocean that connects planes. Does that make sense? Like, can you imagine that? Can you imagine a location that is like, it's like, you know, sometimes like the Feywild like bleeds into reality and you can like cross between it even if you're not like a planeswalker. I'm thinking this is like that. This is like the area between planes, and there is already an area between planes, right? That's like the Blind Eternities or something. But like, this is like an Eldrazi ocean. Maybe this is the Blind Eternities. I don't know. So like, people are like bleeding into this by like traveling out into the ocean and getting lost, and they end up in this like water plane. Ah, this is cool. I'm into it. Ugh. Forgive the Storm. That's a great name for a spell. I hope it's a good spell. 2 mana, black spell, instant. As an additional cost to cast the spell, sacrifice a creature. That sounds appropriate. Somebody died in the storm, but we're going to forgive them. And when you sacrifice Forgive the Storm, discard a card. If you don't, you gain 2 life. Dang it. That, like... I just wanted the flavor to all come together. I really wanted it to come together. It was such an interesting flavor. The Elemental's ability was at least as effective as his land counterpart. Lash Kami is a 2-mana Eldrazi Shaman for 2/2 with haste. Whenever Lash Kami deals combat damage to a player, put a woman counter on target creature and opponent controls. I'm not re-rolling it. Okay. Splice a Deep Waste Lane. It's a 2-mana instant. It's black. It says target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. Reminder text. Black can be paid with 1 mana from a full suite. Inert Eldrazi is a 2-mana Eldrazi drone. Ooh, interesting. It's a 2/2 and it can't block. Ooh, interesting. When Inert Eldrazi enters the battlefield, return target non-elf permanent to its owner's hand. Ooh, I love this card. Only when I hold them could I sleep peacefully. I look at them as if they're going to kill me. I look at them as if they've given me hope. The weird thing about Magic is that blocking is weirdly more combative than attacking is, because when you block, you say, I'm gonna punch you because you attacked me. Whereas when you attack, you're attacking face, but you don't get to, like, fight people, right? Like if the Inert Eldrazi, it's dangerous, it will hurt your opponent because it can attack, but unless somebody stands in front of it and puts their hand in its mouth, they're not going to get their hand bit off. Only, and if that soldier attacks you, you can't have the Eldrazi again. Like, this can never intentionally do damage other than, like, another spell to another creature. And I think that's why it's inert. And I think that's actually really cool flavor. That's what I decided. Ooh, colorless. Seraph Barge is a 2-mana artifact that taps for red or white. It's fine and boring. The Merc inside our net fodder is home to an almost indescribable... Yeah, that's what it says. Indescribable serenity. It feeds on light, charm, and inspiration. There you go. Core Steel Club Member is a 2-mana Eldrazi Wizard. It's a 2/2. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a 0/1 green and blue elf creature token with trample. Okay, this card's cool. I mean, it's not, like, super useful, but it's super, like, it's probably very powerful because it's just an extra body every turn, even if just a jump block. I like this card. This card's cool. I don't know why it's called Core Steel Club Member. A broken spear with, I will bend it to the letter of the weapon. Devastating Kithkin is a 3-mana instant that says destroy target artifact. I mean... do I re-roll this? Like... it doesn't have 0 use case. It's not like it's a completely useless effect, but, like, wow, does this card... I'm re-rolling it. I don't care. I'm re-rolling it. It doesn't even make any sense. It's Kithkin. Paladin of Sifted Reality is a 3-mana human cleric with protection from red. It's a 2/1. Great. Good. Moving on. I don't like protection effects. Ghoul Juggernaut for red, green, and white. Again, this set of cards is based off of New Capenna, so this is a Cabaretti card. It's a Goblin Cleric 3/3 with flying. When Ghoul Juggernaut enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 green Goblin creature tokens with haste. Reminder text. They become Artiodactyl creatures with haste until end of turn. I'm going to allow it. I don't think I should. I think that if I'm consistent with my previous rulings, I should re-roll this. But you know what? It's just until end of turn. It's not actually even broken, I'm realizing, because it just changes their creature. You know, actually, no, this is actually completely reasonable. No, it's not reasonable because it's reminder text. Oh, right. There's nothing to remind, right? If anything, this is a reminder text for the word hate. No, I'm going to re-roll it. I changed my mind. I was gonna keep that because it's like, it's. I think sometimes it's okay to keep stuff that's just like, haha, that's kind of funny and it doesn't mean anything and it's whatever. But like, nah, I changed my mind. War of Underworlds, Cabaretti for an Orc Shaman. It's a 2/2. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a 1/1 counter on War of Underworlds for each blue permanent you control. Holy crap! It's 4-color. It's 4-color. Wow. It's a 4-color payoff. That is pretty cool, actually. I will say I'm actually quite impressed with how little this has been like a blue-themed set. I was worried putting Oceans in the name of the set would cause it to be like, all knights can't be blocked? That's cool. Oh, I like this card. This card's rad. I don't know if there's a knight theme or not. I'll have to keep an eye on that. The gods want our skin. Time for sacrifice. Why wait? Serard, Man of Stones. It would be so cool if the like if when generating legendaries it like looked at names it used in flavor text earlier in the set. I know it won't, but it would be so cool if it did. Phyrexian Champion, green, white, blue, so brokers for an Eldrazi Shaman. It's a legendary creature this time. Okay. It's a 4/4 for 3. Whenever a non-aura spell... What? Okay, interesting. Not even like a non-aura enchantment. A non-aura spell is put into a graveyard from the battlefield. Is it technically a spell at that point? I don't think that works, right? Like, a creature isn't a spell when it's a permanent. Huh. If you cast that spell with mana value 5 or greater from... this gets rerolled. I'm not dealing with that. Terrestrial Baiters is a 3-mana 2/2 insect. It's brokers. It has trample. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay white-blue. If you do, it gains haste until end of turn. That's a rad ability. Weird ability, but it's rad. I like it. Another broker's card, Reaching Darkness. Instant. Draw a card, then discard a card. That sucks. I shouldn't re-roll that, but it's just, I'm not, it sucks. Stone Ritualist is an Eldrazi Artificer. It's a 3/2. Creatures you control have lifelink. They can't be blocked except by artifacts and creatures. Again, we talked about this. Yes, technically, Reminder Text doesn't have rules, and therefore that card wasn't broken, but if we're gonna respect reminder text for made-up keywords, then the reminder text for real keywords has to be right, I think. All About Nuts is a 3-mana broker's spell. It's a 2/2 Eldrazi. Whenever a creature you control dies, put a 1/1 counter on All About Nuts. Whenever a creature you control dies, sacrifice All About Nuts. So, not that good. Does this have a use case? Does this have a use case? I assume you can stack the triggers. So, like... if I had a board of 5 squirrels, let's say, and they all died, I would get +5/+5, and then Sacrifice All About Nuts would go on the stack, and I could, like, fling it before that resolves or something. That's so fringe. I'm not doing it. Look, this is... It's going to be more curated than a normal one. It's still going to be very AI, but it's also... I want it to be interesting. It's... Yeah. No. As long as it's interesting, I'm okay. I'm okay. As long as something is happening, I'm okay. Even if it's, like, not good. Like that other one we saw that just, like, completely blew up your board, and it's like, I don't know why that's useful, but I'm not going to say it's impossible. And again, here, might also not be impossible to make a use case, but it'd be so fringe that I just don't care. Especially for, like, a 3-color. Anyway, Dead Stonekeeper is a 3-mana brokers 4/5 Eldrazi Shaman. It is purely vanilla, but it's a 3-mana 4/5. I think that's fine, actually. A serpent lay dead, unable to talk. But one body rests in a small stream and feeds on those who listen. The idea that I just, like, turned down an interesting card for a vanilla card feels so bad. That feels so bad. But honestly, it's a 4/5 for 3. I think that's cool. Undying Harvester is a 3-mana Cabaret card. It's an Eldrazi Shaman. It's a 3/3. It has haste. Sacrifice an artifact. Undying Harvester deals 1 damage to target opponent. That's kind of cool, actually. If we have any treasures in this set, make a bunch of treasures, sacrifice them all, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, cool. Fun card. Also has haste. 3-mana Cabaret card. It's an Eldrazi Shaman. It's a 5/4. It has flash, and it can't be blocked except by 2 creatures. So, I mean, it's really hard to justify. Fine, you win. We're re-rolling this guy. I didn't plan on that. Okay. What? No! Ancient Centaur is a 3-mana 4/4 vanilla. Stop it! Master's Mask is a 3-mana instant. It's a broker's spell. It says green can be paid with either green or white. It taps to put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. Okay, on top of your library. That's not nearly as busted as I thought. I thought it was going on into the battlefield. Alar. Nope, not Alar. Roll. I gotta wait for it to stop loading. The little glow tells you if it's done loading or not. I really should pay attention to that more. Teferi's Tyrant. Now that's weird. Didn't see that coming. It is a 3-mana broker spell. It's a 3/3 Eldrazi warrior with kicker, generic green-white. It also says you may pay this kicker in like any number of times. This was a multi-kicker. It does not say it's a multi-kicker, so technically that's not true. Also, it just says, when Teferi Tyrant enters the battlefield, you may destroy target creature. So, I guess I have to make that decision. If something generates with a kicker, and no payoff for the kicker, is that okay? Or do I reroll any card? You know what? I wasn't going to, but it's legendary, so I will. I know that doesn't make any sense, but, like, Teferi's Tyrant's not legendary. Screw that. Sanguious Saddlebearer is a 3-mana brokers 2/3 Eldrazi soldier. Whenever a permanent you control dies, you may have it become a 3/2 elf soldier creature token for as long as it's an... That doesn't make sense. Mudlogged Churn is a 3-mana broker's instant. It says target creature you control gets +1/+1 and gains haste until end of turn, which means damage effects that say 2-mana discard a card. Sabotage is a 3-mana instant. Destroy target non-basic land. This is like the most boring card we've made in this specific slot of the deck, or of the set. I wish this was a 3-mana 4/5. Alright, we're keeping it. We're moving on. What was this again? You know what? This wasn't... You know what? This is like a legendary thing. I shouldn't have re-rolled that 4-5. I regret re-rolling that 4-5. Argue with me in the comments. Because, like, some cards are just better than others. This is what rarity's for. Not that rarity exists here, but it's just like... Sometimes you'll see cards that are literally just better than other cards in the same set. And that's okay, because one's common and one's rare. And it's like, okay. Maybe I shouldn't worry that much about it. Ironclad Dramoka is a 3-mana Orc Archer. It's a 2-1 that says, when Ironclad Dramoka enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life. That's super boring. Aurora Nif is a 3-mana white and blue human cleric. It's a 1/3 with flying and lifelink. Okay. Whenever Aurora Nif attacks, exile target creature an opponent controls until Aurora Nif leaves the battlefield. And then it says, activate only during your upkeep and only once each turn. So, that's not true. That is inaccurate. I guess the thing is that, like, I am being a lot more liberal. Maybe not liberal, maybe conservative, whatever. I'm re-rolling more often than I would discard cards. If we generated 300 cards and I was sifting through them, I'm sure I would have kept a lot of these cards because it's like, well, I already made them. But it's so easy to re-roll them. So any little thing that's wrong with it, I'm happy to re-roll. I don't mind. Blue Eldrazi, boring name, is a 3-mana white-blue 2/2. It has flying, and Eldrazi spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. This is so good. Eldrazi permanents you control lose first strike until end of turn. Ah, crap. This was such a cool card up until that point. What? So we can't use this because there's no trigger for losing first strike until end of turn. It's not ETB, Eldrazi's lose first strike. It's not, like... Yeah, it's... I mean, you could argue it's like a static effect, that if Blue Eldrazi dies, it lasts till the end of the turn. But that's like a lot of you making a judgment call and not actual rules. I mean, if you can show me the rules, I'd love to see it. But I'm re-rolling Blue Eldrazi. It's got a boring name anyway. Airtie Archmage. I remember Airtie. 3-mana white-blue 2/2 human rogue. When Airtie Archmage enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls until you draw a card. That is so interesting. That is... I don't think it's super... It's not very good. It's like kind of a bad card, but like, what an interesting trigger. That's such an interesting delayed, like... I love that as a mechanic. Oh, you could do something with that. You could, like, flicker your own stuff to, like, hide them in the exile dimension and then bring them back when you draw a card. And you could draw cards at instant speed to, like, have them come back. Obviously, like, with this card you can't. I'm talking about the idea of this effect. Because this is only can exile creatures and opponent controls. If you could exile anything, this would be really interesting to, like, take something, stick it in exile... Maybe it has an ETB, but then also during attacks you could be like, I cast a spell to draw a card. This comes back from exile and blocks. Like, this is interesting. I really like this as an idea. It's not relevant on this card. This card's probably bad. It's okay. Like, it's not terrible because it actually gets rid of it for like a whole turn, right? It's not just like exile until the beginning of your next end step. It is exile until the beginning of your next draw step, unless you play a card to change that. Blah 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 blah. Which is cool. That's like actually pretty cool. I love this. I love this design. This design's great. I don't think it's very good, but it's a great design. Field Soldier is a 3-mana 1/1 Eldrazi Insect Mutant. For 2 mana, it can regenerate target creature. You know, I don't think this is very good, but the fact that it can universally regenerate any creature for 2 mana, probably pretty okay, right? Like, obviously Regenerate and Destructible are not the same, but they're similar. And this is largely saying, for 3 mana, draw a card that is a 2 mana instant speed, regenerate it, and you can cast that spell infinite number of times. Like, that, okay. I mean, you know what? Yeah, okay, that's interesting. It's an Eldrazi Insect Mutant. The night sky was never the same. There you have it. Yeah. Abhorrent. Ooh. Is a 3 mana green-white instant. Cast this spell only during your turn. Which is interesting. I want to talk about that for a second. It seems like, well, that's not a sorcery, but it's not because you can still cast it during, like, you know, combat and stuff. So that's cool. Before your next turn. Wait, what? Cast this spell only during your turn, before your next turn, and only if that turn's action had an opponent draw a card. So anyway, not only does that not make sense, it doesn't have an actual effect. But still, I think it is relevant that you could have an instant that could only be cast on your turn. I think that's still cool. Anyway, Mornethi Technocrat is a 3 mana 1/2 Eldrazi Shaman. It has tap, add white for each 1 life spent producing or crafting an artifact or enchantment. That could have been interesting. That could have been really interesting. The idea of, like, generate mana for each, like, life you spent as an additional cost to cast spells this turn or something. Like, that's a fascinating idea. Deadeye Axe Lash is a 3 mana 2/1 Eldrazi. Deadeye Axe Lash can't be blocked except by artifact creatures. It's like Mega Fear. Mega Intimidate. That's cool. It's fine. Reptile Squid is a 3 mana 4/4 Golem. You know what? Okay, here's the thing, right? Vanillas aren't super interesting, but it's overstated for its cost. It's colorless, which is relevant. Usually, like, a vanilla colorless artifact creature is, like, weaker than its mana value because the benefit is that you can put it in any color's deck. And, like, I think that's so stupid. This, I actually really like the design. I know it's boring, but I actually really like the design of this card. I think it's really clean. Like, again, if you're in a draft, yeah, I would draft this. I would super draft this. I mean, I wouldn't draft it over my rare or whatever, but you know what I'm saying. Like, if this was a common and you just saw it in a lot of packs, I think that'd be really nice. When it catches up, do not allow it to find a piece of solid ground. Rashid, Turtle Du Welter. I don't know what that means. Return to Wastes is a 3 mana blue, black, red, so a Maestro's card. It's an instant counter target creature spell. Okay. Return it to its owner's hand. Okay. It can't be blocked this turn. Huh. Am I okay with this? I don't know. 3 mana, counter creature spell. Sure. Return to its owner's hand. It doesn't say, like, instead return it to its owner's hand. I think this card just gets rerolled, unfortunately. It's kind of a cool card. Long Quill is a 3 mana Maestro's instant that says creatures you control get +1/+0 until 1 a turn. That sucks. We're keeping it. Yep, I just traded a pretty interesting counter spell for a bad Warhorn or whatever they're called. Trumpet, I don't know. Trumpet Blast? You know what I'm saying. Reefbreaker is a 3 mana 2/1 black red Eldrazi drone. It has haste, and at the beginning of your upkeep, put a 1/1 counter on Reefbreaker. This card's busted. I love it. Let's go. That's really good, actually. Crashing Ghost is a 3 mana black, red, green, so a Riveteer's card. It's an Eldrazi drone. It's a 2/2. It has flying, useful. And it has red, crashing drone deals 3 damage to target creature. That is busted. That is, oh no. That's, I mean, it can only hit creatures, but it also can just universally, like, completely sweep the board. That's too good, but also so is a lot in this set. I think it's fine. Eldrazi Transporter is a 3-mana, 3/3 Eldrazi Artificer. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, something that Artificers are renownedly, care about, you may search your library for a basic land card, something Artificers are, never. I already made that joke. Put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Holy crap, this card's busted. What? Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, cheat a land from your deck into the battlefield. I mean, luckily they're tapped, but it's still bonkers. I love it. Let's go. Let's have this ridiculously pushed format. It's fine. Mutant Boon is a 3-mana instant. Target creature you control gains trample until end of turn. Untap that creature. Reminder text. Create a token that's a copy of a creature you control. Except it's a soldier instead of a wizard. I don't think I've ever seen it say, like, instead of a creature type. That's really funny to me. That's really funny. Alchemist's Gizmo is a 3-mana black instant. Draw a card, then discard a card. If a creature you control attacks this turn, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So, I'm not a judge. Would this card give all of your creatures +2/+2? Or is it like one creature this turn? Like, if you attack this turn, one of your creatures gets +2/+2. I don't know. Part of me thinks I should re-roll this because I don't know. Again, I'm not a judge, so like, me not knowing doesn't mean a card doesn't function. But also, again, like, this randomly generated card is just as good as the next randomly generated card. I'm not going to worry about it too much. Enraged Release is a 3-mana instant that says destroy target land. It has Threshold, which means if black was spent to cast the spell, return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Okay, let's talk about ability words. Ability words have no inherent rules. They simply have, like, a format for what they should probably mean. And this is not Threshold. If this was a keyword and they told me it meant something that it doesn't mean, I would re-roll it. But this is not reminder text, this is actual text, and therefore, I think this is just what Threshold means. I mean, Threshold cares about having cards in your graveyard. It's not that far off. I'm gonna keep it. I mean, does this matter? Very rarely does this matter, but if you had, like, cast it without, cast a spell without paying its mana cost, that wouldn't get the Threshold bonus. Okay, sure, whatever. It's fine. I got, like, half my cards still to go through, so let's not dawdle so long. Blue Gush, that's a gross name, is a 3-mana broker's instant. If you control 3 or more lands, okay, you probably do with 3 mana, but maybe you ramped somehow, maybe you got a mana rock. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it and put it into your hand. You win the game. I'm gonna save this card for me because it's funny, but we're gonna re-roll this. I'm just gonna quickly take that. That's for me. That's just for me right there. I'm gonna share that on the Discord later. By the way, there's an Erz's AI Discord. You should check it out. It's really good. People share their cards. It's great. It's a good time. Citrine Adornment is a 3-mana Broker's legendary creature Eldrazi. It's a 2/2 with flash and flying. Okay, pretty good so far. When Citrine Adornment enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tap and shuffle. This is just a good card. This isn't like super fancy. It's just like good. Yeah, that's great. Alright, cool. Oh, that was funny. Lentil Admiral is a 3-mana legendary creature Eldrazi warrior. It's a 2/4. It's a broker spell. For 2 mana, 1 and a white, Lentil Admiral gains Death Touch until the end of turn, which means 1 and a white can be paid with either green or blue. Arroyo Murray of Loyalty is a... I've never seen a 4-mana name like that before, but I guess it can. Okay. It's a 3-mana Broker's Eldrazi Soldier. It's a legendary creature. It's a 2/3. If Arroyo Murray of Loyalty would attack, you gain 3 life. Like, okay, yeah, sure. Weird. I hope that finishes rendering, because if it doesn't, that could be a problem. Let's hope it does. I don't know. I might end up having to reroll that card, so if it's not in the set, that's why. It might have just never finished rendering. Assumption. X blue blue blue. There was an X blue 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 spell in this set? I don't remember that being in New Capenna. Like, I believe it, I just don't remember it. Assumption is X blue blue blue. It's a sorcery that says draw X cards where X is a number from 0 to 1 plus the first X card drawn this turn. I don't care if this works. I'm re-rolling it. Yeah, this card's not finishing. I might have to re-roll that card. That sucks. Acquire. X blue blue blue. Sorcery. X players can't cast spells from anywhere but their hands. For how long? For the rest of the game? Do I target the players? I'm re-rolling that, sorry. I really didn't want to have to re-roll Arroyo. I like Arroyo. I'm going to re-roll Arroyo after this is done. Cryptology, X blue blue blue, sorcery. Choose one. Destroy target artifact, or put X woman counters. Ooh, this card's interesting. I don't think it's good enough, probably. Like, I don't know if X plus 3 is good enough for counters. I don't know what the going rate for that is. It's probably... yeah, maybe that's fine. I don't know. But this is an interesting use of a choose one card. Because X can be 0 for the first mode because you don't care. Right? And then if you choose the second mode, you'll pay X. Cool. That's a cool way of doing. I like that. I actually like that. Okay. I'm sorry, Arroyo Mariah of Loyalty. You did not generate a card art, and therefore you must be re-rolled. Burybringer Watcher is a 3-mana elf druid. It's a 2/2. Whenever Burybringer Watcher attacks, you may draw a card. If you do, draw a card. Interesting. It's you may draw 2 cards is what it is, right? But it's like if you draw 1, you must draw 2. But yeah, it's just you draw 2 with extra steps. But that's fine. Great card. Cool. Moving on. That's cooler than the life gain one anyway. Solterus Ferrocactus. Yeah, Ferrocactus. Let's go. It's a 3-mana 2/2 flying insect. When Solterus Ferrocactus dies, create a treasure token. It's an artifact with tap, sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any color. That's accurate! That's what a treasure is! Yeah! It's a 3-mana 2/2 with flying that gives you a treasure when it dies. It's not super interesting. It's just like a realistic card. That's great. That sounds like a real card that would get printed. Whirling Kraken is a 3-mana elemental. As much as, like, having, you know, creature types not match your expectations can be weird, I do love the idea of an elemental That's called Whirling Kraken. Like, it's not a Kraken. It's not fundamentally a Kraken in any sort of visceral, you know, inherent way. It's just called that. That's what people call the Whirling Kraken elemental thing. It's a 3-mana 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, opponent may draw 2 cards. Oh, sorry, what? Each opponent may draw 2 cards? I love turning a downside into an upside. That's cool. And I'm not saying that's not possible here. It definitely is. Let's mill out our opponent or something. But usually you at least have an overstated body to, like, as compensation for such a brutal effect. That is bad. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. If I was playing, like, the new Shieldred, I would love to play this, right? It would be super fun to just be like, cool, yeah, draw 2. Yeah, you have to draw 2. Do it right now. I get a 3/3. That's fun. I like that. That's a fun effect. But in a vacuum, that is brutal. I'm going to keep it. I should say, I am going to keep this card. Sorry, red players. You get a 3-mana 3/3 with a downside. It's a downside that has, like, build around potential, I guess is the point. As opposed to, like, just bad. Kamalin First Responder is a 3-mana white-blue legendary elemental. Oh, cool. I'm into this, like, there's, like, this water plane, and we got Minotaurs, and we've got Eldrazi, and we've got elves, and we also have elementals as becoming, like, a main theme. That's cool. There's also, like, some goblins and orcs, I think. It's, like, a pretty standard fantasy setting, I think, a lot of the time. But, like, I love this, like, elemental theme on the, like, stormy seas. Like, a constant turbulent storm with elementals. Ah, yeah, it's rad. Anyway, it's a 3-mana 2/1 with flying, and it can regenerate for 1 white. It's pretty good, honestly. It's not, like, it's not pushed or anything, but it's cool. I like it. Seawalker is a 3-mana 2/2 spirit. It's white. When Seawalker enters the battlefield, target creature you control gains flying until end of turn, which means it becomes the creature's mount. Did you know that? Did you know that's what flying means? Frogworst Mage! Oh, it's not a frog. Dang it. I was so excited for this to be a frog. It's a 3-mana 2/2. For 2, you can regenerate target creature. This is the same effect we saw on a previous card. I don't remember what color that card was. If that card was also white, that would be very funny, because then it's just, like, it's not even interesting that it's in another color. But, I mean, yeah, this is fine. Like, again, it's, like, not something you're excited about, but being able to, like, just regenerate anything and, like, is potentially useful. Regenerate's such a weird mechanic, but it is quite useful. Anchor Force is a 3-mana instant. It's green. As an additional cost to cast the spell, pay generic and green. Tap all creatures. So it's a 5-mana spell, but its mana value is 3. And it's an additional cost, which means if you're ignoring its mana cost, like you're casting something without paying its cost, you do pay additional costs, I'm pretty sure. So it's just bad. This picture looks like Slogurk. I'm into it. It's also, like, so for 5 mana, you are tapping all creatures. Now, all is a big word, right? Like, there are some situations where you're going to be like, yeah, 5 mana, tap everything that's useful to me. But, like, couldn't this just be a Wrath? I'm going to keep it, you know? Like, sometimes there's a common that's, like, pretty useful, even though it's not something you're excited about. I'm okay with that. Yeah, sure. Yeah. It's fine. Smashing Torpedo is a 3-mana Eldrazi pirate. Cool! It's a 2/2. Whenever you draw your second card, put a 1/1 counter on Smashing Torpedo. This card's awesome. I love this card. It's not nearly as good as some of the other cards because you have to jump through a hoop. Wait a minute. whenever you draw your second card. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't say whenever you draw your second card in a turn. Arguably, we consider the second spell in a turn our second... I'm re-rolling it. I don't know why I'm debating this. I know I'm re-rolling it. I already decided that. That's such a shame. Smashing Torpedo, the Eldrazi pirate, sounds so cool. Heavy Transport Captain is a 3-mana human warrior. It's a 3/2. As long as it's your turn... As long as it's your turn, Heavy Transport Captain can attack as though it didn't have Defender. I mean, if something gave it Defender, that would be it. Like, but that's... Wouldn't that be weird if that was, like, a really common removal spell? Like, there's, like, an enchantment aura that's, like, target creature gains Defender or something, and you're like, cool, great. Nice, I can attack as though I didn't have Defender. Haha, I'm immune to that spell. That's such... No, we're re-rolling this. That's so dumb. But interesting, but dumb. Distractor is a 3-mana Elf Scout. It's a 2/1 that can't block. Okay. I don't know if I decided this earlier or not, but I feel like... Again, it's about being boring, right? Like... This is not more interesting than a 3-mana 2/1 vanilla, and a 3-mana 2/1 vanilla is not good enough, so we're re-rolling it. I shouldn't spend so much time justifying this to myself. Like, it's fine, I can do whatever I want. Ooh, more Minotaurs, I like that. It's called a Pensive Manticore, though, for some reason. Let's ignore that for now. 3-mana 3/3, it's got haste. When it enters the battlefield, draw 2 cards. This card's busted! Yeah! Woo! Go Minotaur. Minotaurs sound like a fun thing to play. Just like for a theme. They don't seem to have any flavor. Draconis Drone is a 3-mana artifact. It's colorless. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 2 or more creatures, you may exile one of them. If you wanted to for some reason. You can tap it to add white for each creature exiled this way. Oh! Cool! Wait, what? So, okay, let's talk about this. I think, and I could be wrong, the term this way does not carry over between turns. The way this card should be written is add white for each creature exiled with Draconis Drone. But if it was worded that way, that's such a cool effect. Like, okay, that's super interesting. But I'm pretty sure what this means actually is, at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 2 or more creatures, you may exile one of them. During this turn, you can tap for 1 white mana if you exiled one. I think that's what it actually means, which makes it garbage, and I'm going to re-roll it. Our colors are such an interesting slot, because I love seeing, like, what can everybody do? What does everyone have access to? Glider Launcher is a 3-mana artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep, target opponent gains 1 life, and you gain 1 life. I mean, in a life gain deck, that could be interesting, but, like, I don't know. How good is... You know what? We're going to go on an adventure. We're going on an adventure. I want to see. Let's go to Scryfall. I'm not gonna type into the thing you can see because I don't want to dox myself. I want to see a card that on upkeep gains you 1 life. Like, what does that look like? Ajani's Mantra is an enchantment that says at the beginning of your upkeep, you may gain 1 life. It's a 2-mana enchantment, but this card's colorless, Gilded Launcher, so that is a bit of a, you know, that's relevant. It's not amazing, but it's relevant. During your upkeep, if you have 10 or less life, gain a life. That's not super interesting. Leeches. Death of the Thousand Sins. Farmstead. I don't think we need to talk about that. Fountain of Renewal. Fountain of Renewal is 1 mana at the beginning of your upkeep. You gain 1 life. And it's an artifact, and it's colorless. Again, power level is not something we're super relevant, but, you know, being useful ever is relevant to me. So I would say this card is weak, but not useless. Like, it's bad. It's a bad card, but, like, would you maybe run this if you were in, like, a life gain deck? Yeah, maybe. I mean, probably not. Maybe. Probably not. Maybe. But probably not. But maybe. But probably not. What's that, like, chalice? That, like, there was, like, a chalice recently, I thought, right? What am I thinking of? I guess it wasn't a chalice. I don't know what I was thinking of. There's a card I'm thinking of. It had like an alchemy version. I think it might have been from Kaldheim. Anyway, I'm sure you'll know what card I'm talking about. Point being is, I'm not going to re-roll this. I think I could, and I think it would be better. It would be a better card. But that's not what this is about. That's not what this is about. What's next? Tailkiller Rogue is a 3-mana Minotaur Rogue. Okay, again, Minotaurs are relevant. Cool. It's a 1/3 with reach and tap. Target creature can't block this turn. That's pretty boring, but it's not, like, useless. I think it's relevant enough. Meh. Especially if we can make Minotaurs relevant. So far, Minotaurs are not relevant, but still. There's a lot of them. It's potential. Siren Princess is a 3-mana Eldrazi minion. Okay, I love the flavor. I don't know if this is actually going to land or not, but the idea of, like, Eldrazi Siren, I can see that being a thing. It is a 3-mana... Sorry. Yeah, it's a 3-mana 2/3 flyer. For 2 mana and sacrifice another creature, draw a card. That's great, actually. I love that. That's cool. Our sea sisters used to travel the world without being welcomed, even in our kingdom. Now we're lost in a cold war, outnumbered and torn by strangers. Freya Valkyrie. Be Freya? Freya? I like that card. Card was cool. Quetzal Whipmaker is a 3-mana elf archer. It's a 2/1 with flying and death touch. Great. Jungle Raid Leader, 3-mana, 1/1 elf shaman. It better be good if it's a 1/1. Red, green, and white. Jungle Raid Leader enters the battlefield with 2 charge counters on it. Okay. For 3 mana and tap target creature and opponent controls. I'm going to reroll that one. Mortuary Priest. Okay. A Cabaretti, red, green, white. It's an elf archer. It's a 2/2 for green and white tap. You may cast this spell. That's not relevant. Okay, next. Try again. Oh, dang it. I should have waited for it to finish loading. Warneck Combi Prelate is a 3-mana legendary creature Goblin Knight. Cool. It's a 3/4. All right. When Warneck Combi Prelate enters the battlefield, if you control no artifact creatures or activate and hide... Dang it. This was... I had such high hopes this card would make sense. Or activate and hide another ability of a creature, you may have Warneck Combi Prelate deal damage to any target equal to the number of artifact creatures you control. Cool. Stranglehold is a 3-mana Cabaretti instant. Return target creature to its owner's hand, draw a card. Yeah, that's fine. Cool. Ravnica Archmage is a 3-mana Minotaur Cleric. Minotaurs, okay. I don't know what it is about the oceans and the Minotaur. Like, there's no flavor consistency there. And somehow that feels really Magic to me. Like, Magic weirdly loves to just be like, we decided on this plane, this fantasy thing and this fantasy thing go together. Even though that's not a fantasy thing. Like, if you look at Magic, it's, despite being a lot of the foundation of how I think about fantasy, it's very much not, like, true to a lot of tropes. It's very cool. Anyway, 3-mana Minotaur Cleric. It's a 2/2. For 2, you can choose target non-human creature. It gains trample and gains haste until end of turn. Okay. Alright, cool. So, like, that's not Minotaur tribal payoff, but it is, like, non-human. That's, like, close enough. I'm into that. I think that's fun. Boogaloo Guide. Yeah, let's go. It's a 3-mana 2/2. It's a human shaman. Whenever a card is put into your hand from your graveyard, put it onto the battlefield tapped. Wait, what? Okay. I don't think this works as written, but I love this card. Like, I think it should be written something like, whenever a card is put into your hand from your graveyard, if it is a permanent, you may put it onto the battlefield tapped. Which would be a busted card, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't work automatically on its own. It needs an outside activator, which, you know, balances a little bit. But here, it's like, whenever it... You know what this... Okay, you know what, actually? Actually, this card does work. But what it means is... Okay, this card's a bit confusing, so... You wouldn't want to print it because you need a rules judge to explain this. But unless I'm mistaken, if a non-permanent enters the battlefield, there's actually a rule that says, if that happens, it shouldn't happen, but if it does, it goes to your graveyard instead. Which means, if Boogaloo Guide is on the battlefield and you have a card that puts a card from your graveyard into your hand, you would put it on the battlefield tapped. If it's a permanent, it would be on the battlefield tapped. Oh, thank you, Raffinius, for following. If it is not a permanent, it would immediately go back to the graveyard. Which means the cost of Boogaloo Guide, just like, it's a busted card, but the cost of it is that you can't return non-permanents to your hand. I think that's what it means. Which is... kind of cool. Not, you know, enough to be balanced, but still very cool. Hyrate Vias, a silver-legged dusk. Okay. I should have seen this coming. I forgot about this. Okay, so the deck builder has an error where if a card has hybrid mana, if it shows more than one hybrid mana, it breaks. So this card is red-green hybrid, then green black maybe, or green white. These are the hybrid mana cycle from New Capenna, because all these cards again are based off of the New Capenna mana costs. So that's what this is. And I didn't think about this. I thought they fixed that actually. And I remember planning on going in and being like, I'll just tweak those ones ahead of time, and I did not. So I'm not entirely sure if that is supposed to be green white or green black. But either way, since the mana cost hybrid mana already broke, it continued to break in the text box. So for 3 of some kind of hybrid mana, the next 2 days, creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. So that would get rerolled anyway, so who cares? It's fine. But it's not going to not break. It's going to break every time because it's just a part of the design of the thing. We can look up what that's supposed to mean. Oh, Quingy Turtle! Holy crap! Thank you for the raid. I did not. Hi, welcome in. We're doing Urza's AI generating magic cards to make a set. It's yeah, wow. Thank you for the raid. It's been a while. I don't. Wow, I'm flustered. I'm flustered, and thank you so much. It's really nice of you to do that. Okay, I'm gonna get back to this. Yes. What? Where was I? So Dimir Drone is red-green hybrid, green, and then some other green something hybrid. It's a legendary creature. It's an Eldrazi drone. It's a 3/3. It has flying. It has haste. And when it dies, draw a card. Card's great. I don't know what it is. We can look up what that mana cost is. Unfortunately, that's just going to be the way it is because the actual API is broken for that. Raffini says green-white. Right. That makes sense because the cycle that has the hybrid mana, the one that is the middle, like, the 5 factions of Capenna each have a primary color and 2 secondary colors. And so the cycle with the hybrid mana, the one that is across them all, right? There's like hybrid, non-hybrid, and then other hybrid. All 3 of them could be paid with 1 color, and that color is the main color. So we can actually figure out exactly what this is from, which in this case is Cabaretti. So annoying that we don't have it like on the card. I'll have to make a note for this when I make the mod that you can view this card in. You can actually play these cards on Tabletop Sim if you install that mod. But yeah, that's what it will have to be. Anyway, it's just a flying haste thing that when it dies draws a card. It's good, but not like special. You know what I mean? It's one of those cards that's like, oh, that's a good card, but not interesting. Anyway, yeah, cool. Gale Jane Orbiter is a 3-mana white elemental. It's a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 3 damage to a target player or planeswalker. Kind of boring, perfectly reasonable. Great to fill out your mana curve. Okay. Spitting Drake is a 3-mana 2/2 Drake. It has flying. As Spitting Drake enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. That doesn't seem correct, but okay. I don't know why that would flavor do that, but that's fine. Raffinias, can't you edit images before uploading to the simulator? I guess I could. That's a good idea. I'll have to make a note to do that. Yeah, they're just images, so I could definitely get in there and change it. I like that idea. Thank you. It'll be a little extra work for me, but that's like not a big deal. Like I know how to do my graphic design editing stuff. I know my photo manipulation. Unclean Waters. That's a good name. It's an instant that exiles all creatures. Okay, I mean that's you know, not the most broken thing in the set so far. Cool. Anyways, yeah, it's a broker's card. It's a 3-mana. Only if it's unclean, says Glormax Song. Resurgence of Souls is a 3-mana Maestro's instant. It says gain 3 life. I'm re-rolling this one. I don't need to, it's just boring, and I want interesting cards in this set. 3-mana instant, create a 1/1 blue Saproling creature token. You may choose new targets for the toughness, and influence. That one gets rerolled. Elvish Astrologer is a 3-mana Elf Shaman. It's a 2/4. It has First Strike, it has haste. You may cast any number of land spells from your graveyard without paying their mana costs. So, this is actually really interesting. I want to talk about this card for a bit. First of all, lands aren't spells. Sometimes in the past, I have ruled like, oh, this is an effect that has no targets, and therefore that's fine. Again, that is something I was doing a lot when I was making the sets and trying to weed out the cards that were functionless. But here we can reroll, so I probably would still reroll that. But it also doesn't give us a timing window. If this said, you know, you may cast any number of instant spells from your graveyard without paying your mana cost, that also would be broken, because it doesn't say for how long or when, like just for the, like ever, for the rest of the game, for whenever this is on the battlefield. I mean, if I read this as written, it would just mean whenever. This is just true that you can do that now, and that's not right. I feel like you could have a card that was like, while this creature's on the battlefield, you can cast spells from your graveyard without paying their mana cost, but like, I don't think that's... It would be worded differently. I'm changing that. Angel Strike is a 3-mana Maestro's instant. When an opponent casts a non-creature spell, already not working because this isn't a permanent, this is like a spell. A spell can't have a when like this unless it says like for the rest of the turn. When an opponent casts a non-creature spell, you may draw two cards. If you do, return target creature card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. All of this is interesting, except it doesn't actually function because it's an instant. Would have been a cool effect, though. Oh well. Wild Surge, the 3-mana Maestro's instant. If you control a swamp, sacrifice 2 other permanents and return Wild Surge to its owner's hand. I'm rerolling that. Ballukra's Descent, 3-mana Maestro's instant. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Great! Sweet! Excellent! Love that. Be as useful as it is beautiful. Your favorite lakes are a perfect canvas to help make you beautiful. So, this tells us that there are lakes. It's not just infinite ocean. Otherwise, there couldn't be lakes. I guess if there's islands and mountains and stuff, you could have like an island that has a lake on it or something. Yeah, that makes sense. Because we know that lands exist. It's a magic set. Let me just quickly check to make sure there's no text missing from this card. Okay. Nope, it's fine. It's pushed to the edge, but nothing's actually cut off. Dania, Queen of Flame. Blue, black, red, legendary creature, Eldrazi Shaman. They're a 2/3. For blue, black, red, and sacrifice another legendary creature. That's cool. I hope this effect is good and warrants that effect, because that is a cool effect. Or a cool cost, I should say. Choose any number of lands you control. Create a 5/5 red dragon creature token where 5 is the number of lands you control. It is an artifact with... Okay. You get the points for the... This was so cool. Dang it. I mean, this was what makes this an AI set and not an AI, like, assisted custom set. Because, yes, I am doing a lot of re-rolling and I'm curating this set a lot, but, like, if this was just a custom set, I would get in there and I would just, like, change the text myself, and I'd be like, this is what it is now. Which would be a fun thing to do someday. Actually make a full custom set where I generate a bunch of cards and then I change each card to be what I feel like is the coolest. And this is such a cool effect. You have to sack another legendary creature. You get to make a 5/5, and then, yeah. So weird. Anyway, it's rerolled. Utkarn Grixis Dispatcher. Hey, it actually got the color combo right. That's Grixis, isn't it? Yeah, cool. It's a legendary creature Eldrazi. It's a 2/3 for 3. When Utkame Grixis' Dispatcher enters the battlefield, you may exile target permanent an opponent controls. If you do, draw a card. Yeah, let's go! That's awesome. Glacid Dukes is a 3-mana Maestro's 2/1 Elf Druid. Whenever Glacid Dukes or another elf enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay a black. Okay. If you do, return Glacid Dukes from your graveyard to your hand. Okay, so this is one of those things where I get confused about what, like, when text works. Like, if this just said, when an elf enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay black. If you do, return Glacid Dukes from your graveyard to your hand. I feel like that's actually functional, right? Like, text that refers to it being in the graveyard triggers even though it's in the graveyard, not on the battlefield. But because it starts with when it enters the battlefield, which clearly only works when it's entering the battlefield, obviously you can't return it from the graveyard to your hand because it's in the battlefield, but the second part does work? I think this card technically functions, even though the wording is weird. And it's probably useful enough that some people would really enjoy playing with this card because there are some shenanigans you could do with it. I think I'm still going to re-roll it because it's fringe enough weirdness and not that good. If you played this card fair, like maybe there's some weird combo you could do, some infinite combo. But if you played this card fair, it's just a 3-mana 2/1. No, maybe not, though. Like, being able to come back again and... No, I'm going to keep it. 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 I changed my mind. I'm going to keep it. It's very cool. Because it's a 2/1 that keeps coming back. I mean, you have to play it from your hand. But card advantage, I don't know. I'm going to keep it. They don't all have to be broken. They can be... Some of them can just be, like, okay. And that's fine. Under Pressure is a 3-mana black instant that says choose 2. Target creature gains flying until end of turn. Which means it can't be black separate creatures with flying. That's true. And then draw a card. This is not formatted correctly. If this was just formatted like choose 2 and then it had target creature gains flying, draw a card, you'd be like, okay, there's only 2 options, but like, I will still choose both of them. But this card's not broken, but it's also... It's boring and the formatting's wrong, and that's good enough for me to re-roll it. Iron Tank is a 3-mana 2/1 Eldrazi with Flash. You may cast a spell as anytime you can cast an instant. That's true. That's what that means. Whenever Iron Tank attacks, if you control another target creature, you may put target creature from your graveyard on top of your library. Huh. So it doesn't give you card advantage, but it does let you pull things from your trash. But you have to have another creature. You can't just have, you know, it can't be alone. But it can attack alone. The other creature doesn't have to be attacking. Also, it's target creature. So, like, if you had a second creature but it had Shroud, you couldn't do it? That's weird. That's super weird. I like it. I'm going to keep... I mean, yeah, it functions, I think. Not going into your hand is really annoying, but oh well. Harbinger of Fall is a 3-mana bird cleric. It's a 2/2 flyer. Awesome. When Harbinger of Fall enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature. Yeah, let's go! Devourer is a 3-mana blue goblin. It's a 2/1. It has flying. It attacks each combat available. I mean... This is not, like, good, right? This is a 3-mana 2/1 with flying, which is, like, okay, but then it also has a downside. So... Okay, that's fine. Honestly, I think that, like, the fact that it's a goblin in blue... with flying is already super weird that I think that it, I think that those fringe things could be seen as an upside in certain circles, like in certain formats, that, yeah, cool. And, like, you know, you see that printed at common, you'd be like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's a fine comment. I would draft that if I needed a flyer in limited. Sure. Loyal Order is a 3-mana instant, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Boring, but you got 2 modes, good enough. Put that at common. Good enough for draft. Outsider symbols had an aura of brutality, while their descendants festered beneath their veils. Sealdra in Damashi in Hunted Hill. Okay. Eldrazi Rebel is a 3-mana Eldrazi Shaman. I should say, Shaman and Druid are like probably the 2 biggest like racial creature types that we've seen. Seen a lot of those. Eldrazi Rebel is a 3-mana 2/2 Eldrazi Shaman. It has lifelink, which means damage dealt by this creature also causes you to gain that much life. That's true. It also has Foretell. Eldrazi Rebel gets +1/+1 as long as you control another non-Eldrazi permanent. As we've said before, it is not reminder text. It is the text following an ability word, which is not using properly, but that's fine. Ability words have no strict rules on how they are implemented, as far as I'm aware. So, cool. Gets +1/+1 as long as you have another non-Eldrazi permanent. It's a 3/3 with lifelink most of the time. That's fine. I don't know if that's good or not, but it's fine. It's good enough. Primal Confusion is a 3-mana sorcery. It costs 2 black pips. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. Put any number of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order, then shuffle. That's awesome. That's super good. Yeah, I love that. Rufinia says it's an Eldrazi rebelling against the Eldrazi. The Eldrazi Rebel. Yeah, I guess it kind of maybe is, right? It needs to team up with a non-Eldrazi. That is good flavor. What's the flavor text there? In battle, our foes pay with every fiber of their body to pay for it. Nah. Oh well. It was good up till that point. But yeah, that's really cool. Flavor in the Wilds is a 3-mana sorcery, another generic black. It's a sorcery. The next time a source of your choice would deal damage to you this turn, you may choose target creature instead. If you do, that creature deals damage equal to its power to the chosen target. That is weird. So, a couple things. First, this is a sorcery. So you're probably not going to do something where someone's like, I lightning bolt you in the face, and you say, I'm going to flavor in the wilds. Instead of doing 3 damage to my face, I'm going to choose a creature, and that creature will deal damage to the chosen target? Wait, what's the chosen target? Is the chosen target the creature itself? Okay. I thought this was interesting. At first, but on second reading, I don't think it works. You may choose target creature instead. If you do, that creature deals damage equal to its power to the chosen target. I mean, do you get to choose? Maybe you choose another target. Maybe it's like two target permanent. The wording is weird. Oh, I like this, except for the wording makes me unsure if it's correct or not. Because you wouldn't write it that way. Either it means itself, the chosen permanent, the permanent you previously chose, or the chosen target, I should say, or it's saying to choose another target, and it's any target. Oh, it just means any target, right? It doesn't have to be a permanent. I mean, because it's damage, it could be like face. Face is not. Yeah, no. It should say to any target or something. I've decided this works fine, and I'm leaving it. Again, you can't do shenanigans with it because it's not instant speed, but you could do something where you cast it as a sorcery, and then that sort of is a floating trigger waiting for you to say, to choose a source. Actually, how does that work? It's the next time do you have to choose the source now? Does that mean I have to be like, sorcery, the next time my creature deals damage to my face? You know what? This card might work. It's too confusing. I don't want it in my set. Rerolling it. I liked the idea, but it's just, I'm gonna reroll this too. This is me. I just think this card's boring, Claws. Orzical Shaman is a 3-mana Eldrazi Shaman with Death Touch. It's a 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Boring, but I don't want to keep rerolling, so it's fine. Vicious Defiler is a white, blue, black, 3-mana Eldrazi 2/1. It has flying, it can't block, and you can tap it to have it deal 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Great. We're like halfway through. I should probably call this stream, honestly. Forest Warrior is a 3-mana black red card. Yeah, of course. It's an elf warrior. It's a 2/2. For generic black red and tap, you can untap target creature. I mean, it's not good. It is an elf in red, which for some reason has relevance in this set. I'm going to reroll this one. It doesn't need to be rerolled, but you know what? It's Chandra Amalgam, the 3-mana 2/2 elemental. Whenever you gain life, Chandra Amalgam gets +1/+1 until end of turn. What a weird effect. Cool. Moving on. I should stop. I'm clearly tired. Kelbelman Corruptor is a 3-mana Obscura Eldrazi Soldier. It's a 1/2. When Kelbowman Corruptor enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 black Eldrazi creature tokens. That's rad. That's a great card. Cool. I mean, it's not amazing, but it's fine. You could, like, flicker it. Yeah, it's cool. Strike of Aqua is a 3-mana instant. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to target creature this turn. That's boring. But it's probably fine. Would I ever run this? Maybe. You do have some cards that care about targeting creatures. That's true. Yeah. There's use case. There's use case. Utapu Slasher is a 3-mana instant. As an additional cost to cast the spell, sacrifice a creature. You may cast the spell from your hand without paying its mana cost. So, 0 mana, instant speed, sacrifice a creature. Increase storm count by 1. That is, like, weirdly potentially good, actually. Like, I don't like this card because it does nothing in a vacuum. But, this card has use case. I don't know how I feel about this one. You, one of the king's might, made my grandchild gargantuan and unfathomable. That's such a weird spell. Yeah, Raffinius is saying probably bad for the set. That's an interesting point, right? Like, this card is probably not useful in this set, even though it could be useful outside of the set. I don't know if I mind having this in the set, though. Just like, here's a card, it's going to show up in drafts sometimes, and you're going to be like, I probably shouldn't take that, and you don't take it, and then it's fine, and then it's still, like, is interesting in, like, a constructed format. Like, I think I'm going to leave it, because it's interesting, it sparks the imagination, and it functions as proper. It's fine. Maybe it doesn't, actually. It says you can cast this spell from your hand without paying its mana cost, but it doesn't do anything when you cast it. Which means, can you even cast it? Can you cast a spell that doesn't do anything? Right? Like, if this said, you know, target Gargantuan, and then had no other rules text, you just wouldn't be able to cast it because you wouldn't have a valid target. This card doesn't have targets. I'm gonna reroll. I'm gonna save this card for me because I think it's interesting, but it's, yeah, I think I will reroll it for the set. Corrupted Drudge is a 3-mana instant. You gain 1 life for each colored card in your hand. That's very cute, and I'm gonna reroll it because Magic doesn't want you to, like, be honest. Magic wants to prove if there's hidden information. Ventralone Assault is a 3-mana blue instant. Untap all creatures you control. Return each creature you control to its owner's hand. That is the opposite of an assault. But honestly, I mean, I used to play Hearthstone. Return all creatures to your hand is actually a super useful effect. It's not always useful, but like if someone's got a Wrath, it's if this was sorcery, it would be basically useless. But as an instant speed spell, like, yeah, all right, yeah. Bertez says Inspired Synergy. Is that a card I should know that this is? Raffinia says, can you trigger tapping abilities in between the card's 2 effects? I don't think so, because I think the entire spell's effect goes on the stack at the same time. Otherwise, that would be very cool. If you untap things, have them all tap out, and then return. Very cool if you could. I think, really, this just returns them to your hand. The untapping is only relevant if you have creatures that care about untapping. Like, because that's the thing, right? Some creatures care about when this creature untaps. So, triggering those before they go back into your hand could be relevant, and I think that's kind of cool. So, even though it looks basically like superfluous text, it has use case. That's the important part. Oh, right, yeah, literally the thing I was just talking about. Yeah, that's what you meant. Inspired is the ability word for effects that trigger when a creature is untapping. So, yeah, Inspired Synergy. Great, okay, cool. That's really funny. You actually, yes, you were referring to the thing, and then I didn't realize that's what you were referring to, and then I referenced the thing you were referring to. Good job, me. Alright. I like that card. I think that card's cool. It's the flavor is bad, but that's okay. Arcadian Transformer is a 3-mana Merfolk Shaman. Not an artifact? That's a shame. It's a 2-mana tap. Sorry, it's a 2-1. It's a 3-mana 2-1. For 2 mana, a white and a blue. A white and a generic. Tap. Prevent the next 2 damage that would be dealt to target creature this turn. That's boring. I'm going to reroll it. I don't need to reroll that. It's not necessary. Sometimes there's boring cards, and that's fine. But look at Kamu Ringtai Cleric, the 3-mana X3 that has power equal to the number of red and white cards in your hand. Dang it! That sounded cool until it can't be equal to the color of cards in your hand. That doesn't work. That's so interesting, but like, you can't do that. I wish you could do that. That'd be fun. If it was like Alchemy or like Hearthstone, you could do that. Yeah. Old Castle Drake is a 3-mana 2-1 Drake with flying. Lovely. Are you gonna ruin it for me, AI? For 2 mana and returning Old Castle Drake to its owner's hand. That's a cost. Ooh, that's interesting. Create a 1-1 white Drake creature token. Oh. Wow. That is interesting. For 2 and bouncing itself, it leaves behind a 1-1. But the 1-1 can't fly. It's like a Wormling. It's like Old Castle Drake can, like, ETB, or like hang out for a while, then you can bounce them to your hand and they leave like a little Wormling behind that can't fly. I like it. It's really cute. I like that card. Soul Arsonist is a 3-mana Eldrazi pirate. It's a 3/2. It says, as long as it's your turn, you may have Soul Arsonist attack or block it this turn. I don't know what it is. If you have a card in hand, sacrifice Soul Arsonist. I want to see Eldrazi pirates be a thing, but I think I've rerolled every Eldrazi pirate we've seen. It's so sad. Cold Spider is a 3-mana insect. It's not a spider. It's a 2/2. For 3 mana, Cold Spider deals 2 damage to target creature with flying. I mean, that's spidery. Instead of having reach, it just shoots you. Okay, yeah, that's a common, sure. Ravishing Archon is a 3-mana Eldrazi drone. Actually, I want to go back to this for a second. Cold Spider is funny to me because it basically is like, what if red had spiders? No, they wouldn't have reach. That's a green mechanic. They would just shoot them. They would just shock them in the face. Alright, where was I? Ravishing Archon is a 3-mana Eldrazi drone. It's a 2/2 with flying. Nice. For 2 mana and sacrificing another creature, Ravishing Archon gets +1/+1 till end turn. That's an expensive +1/+1, but on a flyer, not bad. Not bad. Mass Invader is a 3-mana Eldrazi drone. It's a 2/2 with flying. Cool. I do wonder if just like blue is gonna just dominate the sealed game because this like the limited pool, because flyers are just so strong and they're the only ones with any. I guess that's just actual real magic if I think about it, but still. Seeing a lot of flyers in blue and not many very much else. There's like some in white, I think, but that's about it. Anyway, for 3 mana, Mass Invader gets +1/+0. So, extremely expensive fire breathing. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of cool. These cards are very similar. Like, this is a 3-mana 2/2 with flying, and this one is a 3-mana 2/2 with flying, and they both can buff their stats. They're very minorly different. I think you wouldn't print both of these in the same set, but they're fine. Darkul Warrior is a 3-mana Minotaur Warrior. Minotaurs! I hope we get to see some, like, Minotaur synergy eventually in this set. There's so many Minotaurs in this set. When a creature enters the battlefield under your control, that creature gains flying until end of turn. Which often isn't relevant, but if you're in red and all your creatures have a haste, that could be really scary. No, this is great. I love this card. This card's excellent. Stormwing Priest is a 3-mana Phyrexian Naga. That's surprising. It's a 3/2 with flash, flying, and first strike. That is a terrifying combination. Wow. Just flashes in and first strike kills your flyer. Oh, brutal. You may have Stormwing Priest enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature. What? It's even more busted. What? That's so cool. I don't know why. That's a lot of things on this body, but it's also, interestingly, a colorless creature, which means, like, yeah, anyone can have access to this, like, weird Phyrexian Naga, which there have been no Phyrexians in the set so far. She was born as a wave of frost and made from every heartbeat. Yeah. Rafinha says, or like any creature on the battlefield, or like any creature you remember exists. I do believe, generally speaking, if it doesn't mention where a creature is, it means the battlefield. I think that's just actually a rule in the game. But you bring up an interesting point. Like, it's possible that this is incorrect. You know what? Let's bring up Scryfall. Let's take a look at enter as a copy. The original clone is a 4-mana creature shapeshifter. You may have clone entered the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield. Okay, yeah. The precedent states that it is incorrect the wording on Stormwing Priest. Any creature. Huh. Dang. Yeah, I mean, if it means battlefield, then that's fine. If it means anything that exists, that is a problem. That said, if you have an effect that's like destroy target creature, that's not any creature. Because it has to be on the battlefield to target it, unless it specifies somewhere else. But yeah, like so much of the game, if it doesn't specify where, it means the battlefield, right? It doesn't say target, like destroy target creature on the battlefield. But this is different than that. Ooh, I'm unsure. I don't want to re-roll this card. It's cool, and I mean, it's busted. Maybe it's fine to re-roll it. Maybe that's actually a good thing. Yeah, I can't find any precedent that suggests that it would be legal wording. Disappointing. All right. Yeah. Raffinia says, keep it anyway and rule it like you think it's better. It's not like other people will play without you present. That's not necessarily true. I do make these available. People can play them. I don't really have great documentation for how to, apparently. Some people have left comments saying they're confused, so I need to definitely make a dedicated video where I explain how to set these up. That would be much easier than trying to explain in the comments. But yeah, I do encourage people to use these sets. Usually I will give little rules advice, but the precedent I've set with this set is that I will be re-rolling things that need a judge present. I'm going to save this card because I like it, but I'm going to re-roll it. And it's going to hurt me. But I'm going to do it. There shouldn't be Phyrexians in this set anyway. It's the only Phyrexian. Get out of here, Phyrexian. We don't need you. Now, Scarecrow Flapper, a 3-mana 2/3 that can't block unless its controller pays 1. That, I'm just rolling because I think it's boring and I don't like it. Dolphin Net. That seems appropriate. A 3-mana artifact. Whenever a player casts a blue spell, Dolphin Net deals 3 damage to that player. What? Wait. That's so mean. That's so mean. Why is there an anti-blue card in... Why? Okay, sure. Yeah, okay, I guess. Sucks to be blue. Ducat of Halls is a 3-mana Obscura Eldrazi drone. It's legendary. It's a 2/4. Whenever Ducat of Halls is dealt damage, you may pay generic blue black. If you do, you lose that much life, meaning the amount of damage, I guess, and create one 1/1 blue and black Eldrazi spirit creature token. Whenever Ducat of Halls deals damage to you, if you had no tokens in hand, it deals X damage to that creature's controller. So... goodbye, Ducat of Halls. Try again. I'm not even centered. Dreamcatchers is a 3-mana Obscura 2/3 elemental for 2 generic, white, blue, and black. Regenerate target land. I refuse. I refuse. It's not like it's a useless card. It's just... what if we had Valiant Drone, the 3-mana legendary creature elemental 1/3 with flying and vigilance? Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, Valiant Drone gets +2/+0 and gains flying until end of turn. That's pretty boring too, actually. That's actually quite boring. I mean, it's not bad, actually. Like, it's perfectly reasonable. It's a 3-mana Vigilant Flyer that can become a 3/3, but isn't always. That's, like, kind of interesting, but not great. Oh, well. Oh, well. Mindbender Black is a 3-mana Elf Archer in black. Cool. Is a 1/4 with first strike and haste. Whenever Sorry, I'm not in shot. Whenever Mindbender Black deals combat damage to a player, that player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Great. Cool. Moving on. I gotta be snappier about this. Grave Pact is green-white hybrid, white, and I think white-blue? Yeah, white-blue, because the other option would have been white-red, and we already know that that's not correct. Yeah. Yeah. This is the broker's hybrid card. Grave Pact is an instant, says destroy target creature with power less than the number of lands you control. I mean, yeah. That's a pretty good kill spell. Yeah, okay, sure. Eternity Pact. Ooh, another pact. 3 mana, Riveteers, instant. Until end of turn, you gain 1 life for each creature you control with flying. That doesn't make sense. You can't have a for end of turn you gain life like that. It needs to have an if then when, or whatever. Sacrifice Eternity Pact. You can't do that. It's not a permanent. Target creature you control gets +3/+3. Cool. What an interesting enchantment. Alright. Guild Brawl is a 3-mana 3/3 Eldrazi. When Guild Brawl enters the battlefield, draw a card. Whenever a player draws a card, including yourself right now when it enters the battlefield, if Guild Brawl has 2 or more creatures on the battlefield, draw 2 cards. So not only would this go infinite with itself, which is bad, we're going to reroll things that go infinite with themselves, but also, what does it mean to have 2 or more creatures on the battle? Like, Guild Brawl has 2 or more creatures. Aetherin Reborn is a 3-mana Riveteer 2/2 Eldrazi with flying. Okay, pretty good so far. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, if a creature you control dies, create a 1/1 red elemental creature with flying. Like, as a result of the land entering, or, like, ever from now on? That's a cool card that doesn't work, unfortunately. Ulvog Worm is a 3-mana Riveteers legendary creature Eldrazi. It's a 3/2 with prowess, which of course is an ability word, which says red, target player mills 3 cards. That is, I mean, that's not unfunctional. That, like, mechanically functions, I think. Dang, that's, I mean, you're gonna kill somebody that way. Yeah, you really would. I'm gonna keep it. It's not the most broken thing. Maybe it is the most broken thing we've seen. I don't know. It's a mythic. Why not, right? It's not actually. It's a rare, but whatever. Yeah, let's keep it. Sounds good. Okay, after that card, I really want to keep going, and probably I will, but I need to call the stream. This has been a lot. I really enjoyed this. Let me know how you feel about this style of forging a set, if this feels like it's too hands-on and doesn't feel like a real AI set, or what. Obviously, there will be the full set available in the description of the video, so check that out. And a gameplay video will be coming soon with this set, so we can see it in practice. I think it's going to be a very weird, limited experience, and I kind of want to try that out. But maybe we should try some constructed games sometime as well. I don't know. Constructed's so weird because you can just be like, I'm going to take these, I don't know, 9 cards and have 4 copies of each of them. And you see such a small amount of the set that it's like, it's not as interesting to me personally. Anyway, with all that said, I've been Darcy Bits. Have a good night, everyone. This has been Urz's AI making Eldrazi Oceans. Have a good night.